Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show, the show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 32 of the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show for October 2019. My name is Jonathan Leung, the producer, director, and editor of the Arcade Repair Tips video series, and joining me today, as most always, is Mr. Arcade Repair Tips himself, Tim Peterson. Tim, how you doing?
Well, fighting Texas allergies today, but I feel better than I sound, so hopefully it's not too bad.
Oh, there you go. Now, Tim, I know you've been busy. I've been getting texts seeing the Mr. Gaddy's pizza truck all over the place, it seems like, or trailer, I should say.
Right.
So how's everything going with that? Things at Mr. Gaddy's going pretty well for you?
It's good. We just wrapped up our East Texas Fair, which was there for 10 days, and we did pretty good. What's still amazing is how many people don't know where Gaddy's is. So we're still getting a lot of people, oh, we didn't know there was one in Tyler again. So it's bringing people into the restaurant, which is a big help this time of year. So for Fair Week, we did pretty good.
Now, if you guys want to hear more about Tim's adventures at the fair, we were going to have some of that talk in the live show, right?
Yes.
So including maybe some arcade-related fair talk, right?
Yes.
So if you guys want to, you can listen to that during the after show. But Tim, right now it's kind of fair season around here. And I don't know if it's like that everywhere. It just seems like in Texas, the fall is fair season.
Right. Well, you know, everybody else has fall. We have the second version of summer.
That's right, summer too.
It's 100 degrees today.
The sequel, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you know, a cold front's coming through. It's going to be like 85 next week. Everybody's excited.
Exactly. So hopefully, we hope the weather's nice where you are, and we want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Because Tim, there are a lot of things you could be watching tonight. You could be watching the MLB postseason. You could be watching the beginning of hockey season, or you could be watching of. But you guys chose to watch us, or maybe you're watching us and one of those as well. We don't care. As long as you're here, we're glad you're here. So thank you for joining us tonight. Remember, guys, that you can leave messages in the live chat this evening to interact with us during the show. Tim, it looks like we got a couple of guys here already. It does look like YouTube Punk is here. Jason's here. Louie is here. Of course, Louie is here. So he's going to be doing some ordering for us, I'm sure. Thank you, Louie, for being with us tonight. And then Tim Michael's here as well. So we have a lot of people here. Let's see. I'll check the live chat real quick. Sorry we had to delay for a minute there, guys. Just had a little bit of a 5-minute delay. Nothing serious. Just, got to get our ducks in a row sometimes. Right, Tim?
Yeah.
So it looks like everybody is doing well. YouTube Punk says he thinks you stole his shirt. So Tim is wearing a nice Atari shirt, and he may be right. I don't know. A very popular Atari shirt, I should add. So let's see. Michael says, hey, Jonathan and Tim, from me and my wife, Danny. Hi, Michael and Danny. Thanks for joining us tonight. Let's see. Mr. Gaddy's Command Strike Mobile Pizza Assault Vehicle. Is that what you serve your pizza out of, Tim?
Pretty good. It's some kind of nuclear reactor because that thing is hot inside. If it's 100 degrees outside, it's about 140, 150 in there. So.
Golly, really?
Really
now,
hot, yeah.
Did you guys have any kind of AC in there?
We have installed an AC air conditioning, but you can imagine we've got a full regular-sized pizza oven in there, 2 or 3 cooling units or for food and stuff and prep. So a lot of times when it's running full blast, it trips the breaker a lot. So we did some work on it this week. They'll hopefully try to fix that.
And it's just a learning process, right? I mean, as you take it out, you get a little bit better at managing those things, I'm sure.
But it was definitely hot in there.
Now, just to give people an idea, what do you offer and what do you charge for it?
What we do there in the pizza truck is we narrow it down to just a few toppings like pepperoni, cheese, sausage, and maybe some extra toppings like jalapenos or something on the side. We make it by the slice, and we double up the slice size. So you can see my hands, a slice is about this big. And then so, like, you can get a couple slices and a drink for like $5 or something at the fair.
Not bad at all. So,
yeah.
Definitely. So, Tim, we have a couple here. Joe says, Joe DeLong is here. He is here. George Arcade is here. Hey, George, how's it going? Knights of Old, does the OG 19-inch Stargate Williams monitor have a horizontal position adjustment pot or dial, not horizontal size? Now, Tim, I can't remember exactly which monitor usually comes in a Stargate. I want to say it's a Wells Gunner, either 46 or 49.
Right, probably a 4900.
Right, so, but I can't remember. I mean, most of the older monitors do have a horizontal position adjustment for the most part. Now, Tim, we've seen like on Geo 7s where we have the jumper. where we
Yes.
have to move the jumper in order to modify the horizontal position. So it may not be an actual dial or pot. It may be a jumper on the board, but it really depends on which kind of monitor you have, right, Tim?
Yeah, and I probably have seen 4 or 5 different kinds of monitors in that game. So if you're not sure which kind of monitor you have, you take a picture of the chassis for us and show it to us. We can tell you.
And we can also help you identify where the horizontal adjustment is if you need help with that. So pictures are always helpful, Tim, or if you know exactly which monitor you have, you can let us know that as well. Okay, Tim, I think we're ready to go ahead and begin some questions.
All right.
What do you think? Can I throw them your way?
Let's go.
You ready to hit some home runs, or I don't know, strikeouts, or are we going to score touchdowns? I'm trying to get sports analogies in here. Lots of sports tonight.
I'll settle for just getting on base. Let's go.
There you go. So let us continue here, guys. Very first question is from Matthew, and Matthew says, "I hope this comment gets to you." Well, Tim, I think it did. So here we go. I have a 15-year-old cocktail arcade, a 40-in-1. Several years ago, it started to hang up after the initialization and get stuck in demo mode. It shows the game selection screen, but the player 1 and player 2 buttons do not work. In fact, none of the buttons or joysticks work. I have checked the continuity on the grounding wires on the control panel, and they are all good. The voltage from the power supply is good as well. Are you aware of any other issues besides the board that could be causing this? Any help would be appreciated. Okay, Tim, so we have Matthew here. Now, he's got a 40-in-1, Tim, which is a early successor of the 60-in-1, right? And so, or predecessor, is probably a better way to say it. An early predecessor to the 60-in-1 board, Tim. But he's having this problem where it just hangs up and won't let him actually start a game. So it goes to the game selection screen, and anytime he hits something, it just kind of goes blank. There's no response from any of the controls. Now, he's saying that he's done continuity on the grounding wires. Then,
Okay.
which is something that we would probably recommend to check almost every time when you're having control issues. But what other things should Matthew check in order to see if it's his board, if it's a board issue, a control issue, or if it's something else?
Well, my biggest question is, all of those games will do that if the game isn't coined up and it's not on free play.
Sure.
So what he needs to make sure is that somehow a dip switch didn't get changed. I'm assuming it was on free play to begin with, or is he having some kind of problem with his coin switch or something coining up the game? A lot of times to get it off of that screen, you have to coin it up to take it into that. So it sounds to me like there could be a mix-up there where it's maybe thinks that it's in game mode. So he needs to check his settings. So maybe he could switch it to free play mode and just see if it will play that way. So he needs to check the dip switch settings, which should be close to the 60-in-1, which you can get that manual. You probably can't get the 40-in-1 manual. Maybe online somewhere.
Maybe.
Well, that's what it seems like. But you could have a bad board. After 15 years, that's a lot on one of those boards if you play it quite often.
We've had 16-in-1 boards go out after 5 years.
Right.
Just to give you an example.
And some that didn't work off the bat. So it could be a board issue, and I would go ahead and check stuff like your voltage and things to make sure that all that is right. But being that you can now get I'm trying to remember how much a 40-in-1, that goes way back. They seemed like they were over $100 at that time, and now you can get a 60-in-1.
Yep. So
the worst case scenario, you could get a 60-in-1 for about $50 or less, and then go ahead and replace it, and you'd have more games than you have now. So I would definitely check into those couple things, but the dip switch settings is where I would go first. Make sure that it's not on. If it is on coin up, sounds like you need to coin it up or put it into free play and see what happens there.
And Tim, it is very common for these multi-game boards to lose their settings because, especially with the early versions of the 60-in-1, because it is a soft dip switch for the free play. So it could be that at one time, Matthew, your game was in free play, and then it may have gotten a surge or something like that, or something may have happened, maybe a little jolt to the board that caused it to go back to coin play. It's very possible that could have happened. So it is, like Tim mentioned, it is very possible that you had a free play mode at one time and now it's no longer in free play mode.
Right.
So, Tim, with that said, let's go ahead and throw this up here. Oh, see, I'm teasing stuff beforehand. Shouldn't do that. Let's see, Matthew. The only other time we've seen an issue like this is when the game is set for coin play, but no coins have been inserted. Make sure that your game is on free play mode if you want to play the game without inserting coins. You can select free play mode through the setup screen, or Tim, he can just coin up the game as well. Okay, so he can do that. While it seems like this is more of a wiring or setup issue, like Tim mentioned, it is possible that your board has gone bad. If this is the case, your best bet is to replace it with a 60-in-1, which can be purchased for around $50 or less, Tim. And we have the links, and they're also in the show description below for a 60-in-1 or 60-in-1 that you purchase from either Amazon or eBay. And those are pretty much the only places where you can purchase those from, Tim. And the reason why is because the people who are selling on Amazon and eBay are international sellers.
Right.
And so international sellers don't have to worry about pesky little things like copyright.
Right.
And so whereas American sellers do. And so now it's really hard to find American sellers that have these boards in stock. But there are plenty of sellers on Amazon and eBay that will be happy to hook you up. So if you need one of those boards, that'd be the way to go. But double check your coin settings. Make sure it is on free play. Or if it's not, make sure you're coining it up before you start the game. Because, Tim, that would cause it not to work properly.
Right, that's what it sounds like to me, and especially if it's a soft dip switch setting that he could have actually got mixed up over time, especially, or if he left it off for a long time and then didn't play it.
Right.
It could happen like that.
Absolutely. So Matthew, hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting that 40-1 board back up and running. Okay, Tim, looks like we have a couple of questions here in the live chat. Joe DeLong says, I sent a question in a couple of days ago about my Arcade Legends battery swap. Can you guys answer it live tonight? So I didn't actually put this on the outline, Tim, but Joe, I think I already read your email. And I think, Tim, Joe was wondering, he needs to do a battery swap on his Arcade Legends, but he doesn't want to have to swap it out and then have to redo all the settings. So he was wondering if he could jumper like another battery, like basically on the back side of the board, if there's a way he could jumper a battery temporarily into its spot while he changes out the battery.
I think so.
Okay, so you think that's possible?
Yeah, I think it's possible. You could get like a battery holder or something, or there's some
even a pigtail style battery.
Like a pigtail style battery
that has the same voltage, of course.
That has the same voltage, and you can just attach it onto that.
Right. So you could do that, and then take that battery out, put the other battery in. You should be okay. Oh,
yes.
That's why it's a live show.
It's my daughter. Let me make sure. Go ahead. We'll keep talking. Let me make sure that it's nothing important.
So, but that you
probably
think
trying to reach your mother.
There you go. But that is possible, you think?
Yes, I think it is possible because of the fact that you can do that, and you could even go on the other side of the board.
That's what I think he's thinking.
Yeah,
he wants to go on the opposite side.
That's the way I would do it.
Okay. So I've not actually tried it before, Tim, but I know you've had more experience with stuff like that than I have. So, but so I mean, I think it's worth a shot, right? If nothing else. So okay, let's see, Mr. Silverball Mania. I picked up a Golden T 2005 for free. So there you go, Tim. Free.
Oh wow.
They said the monitor didn't work. A Wells Guard 2792, and the anode cap was off and resting on the neck board. And let's see, and one hell of Arcan smoke. Got lucky, didn't fry it. So apparently he had a lot of arc and smoke, I think is what he meant. So it had a big arc and a big smoke after he tried to plug it in. So the monitor works, but only the green and the blue screen, when I go into the menu, can turn the red up, will stay the whole time until you shut it off and restart. So it's almost like the monitor itself is resetting the red. Okay. So what do you think would cause that? That's a 2700 series.
Well, if you get an arc and smoke from it...
well, he says the monitor works, but only the green and blue on screen when I go into the menu is what it says.
Well, it's probably just this red drive or something.
But he says he can turn it up and it'll stay until he shuts it down, and then the red goes back.
Oh, and then it resets.
Right, and then it like resets the red, which is really strange. On digital monitors, Tim, I mean, a lot of times there is a setting save that you have to do. And I'm not as familiar with the 2700 series as I am with like the, with some of the like 9200 type series, obviously. But there may be a setting in there that, like, sometimes what you have to do is you have to set it the way you want, then you have to cut power to adjust the monitor and give it power back. Or if there's a power button on the monitor, you have to hit the power button on the monitor to have it keep the red setting and then to turn it back. Yes. But I'm not sure about the 2700
I remember
series,
when I worked for Chuck E. Cheese, we had to do that on a monitor, and every day I would come in, I'm like, I just changed it, and you change it, and it would work. And it was something like hold player one start, and it was like an enter almost that you had to do. So whatever monitor you have, if you Google that, how to save the settings, I bet you can figure it out. It was like, and even if it's a Wells Gardner, you can still call them, they can walk you through it. I remember one time they even had me go into like the secret menu and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is cool. But it was some form of, on the remote board, it was like you hold two down and do, it was something like that. It's like a kind of like the ABAB when you're playing Nintendo. You had to hit a couple buttons just right.
There you go. So, Mr. Silverball Mania, you may contact Wells Garner about that, but I think Tim is right. There is a way to save the settings, so it may be that whenever you turn off the monitor, the settings are not being saved. There is a way to do it. You may need to contact Wells on that. You may be able to find it in the manual, Tim, or you may be able to find it via Google search, like Tim mentioned, but I don't have enough experience with 2700 to know that off the top of my head,
It's been a long time since I did that, but I do remember that happening where I had to go in and save that. I finally figured it out. I was like, oh, well, there it is. Even then, I think also I have to replace the chip. There's a chip on the board that I've had to replace before that wouldn't save and would do some stuff.
Sure. Knights of Old says, I have a discoloration on corner of an unmoved monitor. It comes back after degaussing. I suspected a bolt or nut near may be magnetized. How do I test for that? Well, to be honest with you, if you keep running the degaussing coil over it, eventually it should demagnetize. It will take some time, and it may take some adjustment, or it may take a little while to do that. But that's basically what degaussing does, Tim, is it kind of removes the magnetic fields from around your monitor tube. So if you continue to use the degaussing coil on it, eventually it should kind of work itself out, but it may take a while for it to do that. And Tim, we've always talked about rotating monitors because of Earth's gravity and other factors. And so, sometimes you have it on the floor in one direction. If you literally turn it 90 degrees, it'll change it.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's something to keep in mind too, especially when you have a monitor on the flat ground instead of in a cabinet.
Yeah, because in my old game room, we had one on the concrete floor, and literally you could degauss it, and the next day it never would get quite right. One day we just decided to change it, move it, and when we did, it was perfect.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of it has to do, having a monitor on the ground sometimes will cause those kind of magnetic forces to work on a little bit more than what you get normally. But degaussing it will continue to help it because it can't, like I said, it's basically like a demagnetizing effect on it. Over time, it should get better and better and better as you continue to degauss it. But also, putting it in a cabinet is going to help a lot once you actually get it in a cabinet. And like Tim mentioned, if you actually rotate it physically 90 degrees or more, then you may actually see that discoloration go away automatically. So,
yes.
There we go. Let's see what else we have here. Michael Bloom, is there an NVRAM for arcade machines like there is for pinball tables? Those replaced batteries are way more reliable. There is for some games. So, like an NVRAM for pinball saves the settings automatically. Mm-hmm. Some games do have that, kind of a perpetual memory type thing. The ones that use battery saves typically do. So if you have a board, Williams boards, Tim, I believe, can be modified to use.
Right. Of course, they're pinball boards.
Exactly, they're pinball boards basically. So there are, if you any arcade game that has a battery save, most of them also have an NVRAM equivalent that you can get, but you'll have to do a search for the particular game that you're looking for, and basically setting save or something like that in order to see. Highscoresaves.com, Tim, our good friend over there.
Yes.
He has a lot of chips that save the scores, but guess what, Tim? They also save the settings as well a lot of times.
That's correct.
So if you go to highscoresaves.com, you can find a whole bunch of games a whole bunch of chips for games that allow you to not only save the high score settings, but also save the settings in your game. Let's see. Knights of Old can't do a battery swap like that on a Capcom CPS3 board. Yeah, I think that is correct. CPS3 boards are a little bit strange. Tim, I haven't had too much experience with the CPS3 boards, but I know that they're different than what you get with CPS2. Right. Whereas with a CPS2, you can take the battery out literally for 30 minutes and put a new battery in, and it won't lose its settings.
You have a little time.
You have a little time, but not all boards are like that. So, make sure that you check your manual for the game to see if it recommends anything as far as battery swapping and things like that go as well. So, let's see what else we got here. Mr. Silverball Mania, thanks from the Buckeye State. There we go. And Louis also linked to highscoresaves.com, so you guys can check that out. A lot of different chips there to save your high scores. But Tim, they also save your settings as well. I have, we did the video on the kit for Donkey Kong. That kit is still in my Donkey Kong cabinet, and I turn it on all the time. Still has the same, all the settings are still saved and everything like that.
That's cool.
So, but great stuff. Highscoresaves.com, can't recommend them enough. So. Okay, Tim, let us move on here to Kelly. Hi, we have been away for the summer and just came back and plugged in our GameL 420-in-1 cocktail arcade. I tried going to the setup screen using the S1 button, going through all the menu items and being certain it is set to the cocktail setting. Every time it goes to the home screen, which lists all the games and has a small screen of the game of choice, and I try to choose a game, it simply reboots every 30 seconds or so. The screen goes black, the Game Elf logo comes up, followed by the press test button to set up message, and then it goes back to the home screen. Anything you could do to help would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Okay, Tim, so we have Kelly here. Got this Game Elf 420-in-1, Tim, a very common board that we see in a lot of vertical cocktail tables. So the problem is, Tim, is that the game list comes up, but when she selects a game, all of a sudden it just resets about after 30 seconds. And so what she's wondering is, what is going on with her Game Elf cocktail table?
Well, anytime we come across a game and it's resetting, it just, starts up or goes through some kind of mode and then resets. One of the very, very, very common things that we find is the power supply, especially after setting up for a time like that. So you got to make sure of the voltage. Now, fortunately, a lot of times you can just turn it up or tweak it a little, make sure get it in range. But a lot of times that is indicative of a power supply failure or starting to fail.
Exactly, Tim. And Louis mentioned ASAP. ASAP is our acronym for Always Start at Power, Tim.
Right.
So that way you know. But starting at power is one of the best ways to troubleshoot any game beginning with. And Tim is right. Anytime we see restarting issues like this, it definitely causes us to look twice at the power supply to make sure that it is putting out the proper voltage. So, Tim, let's go ahead and put this in right here. Okay. Rebooting problems like this, we like to start the power supply. Like we mentioned, Tim, make sure the correct voltage is getting to the board. Use a multimeter to test the +5 and +12 VDC lines at the power supply on the board. Adjust as needed. And Tim, we have a great video on checking and replacing a power supply that Kelly can check out if she hasn't already. You okay?
Or him.
Or him. It could be a him. I think it's a her. Like just the rest of the name. So I only put first names on here, Tim. I usually don't put the last name, but it sounded more like a her than a him this time.
Okay.
So there you go.
Like Kellyanne or something.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I know Guy Kelly's too. I know what you're talking about, right. and we're totally getting off on a tangent. But yes, I do know. Anyway, now Tim, I put the second part in here because the one thing we have to remember about the Game Elf boards is that they have an SD card in them.
That's true.
That actually holds the ROMs and all the games. And so there is a possibility that it may be booting up the menu with all the games, but when it tries to load the game from the SD card is corrupt.
Right.
And so in that case, you may be able to get a replacement SD card, Tim, because a lot of people who sell the Game Elf boards also sell a replacement SD card.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so you can get the replacement. You may have to buy another board completely, depending. But if you set the voltage and the voltage is correct, it may be that the SD card on the Game Elf board is corrupt. And Tim, if you see this little cover on the very back left corner of it, and I know you see a little square right there, that is usually where the SD card is. It's kind of covered up. If you take that cover off, you can actually pull the SD card out. But I believe that SD card requires Linux in order to read properly. So if you have a Windows computer and you pop it in, you're not gonna be able to read the content off there because of the file system. The file system is Linux based, and so you may have to have a Linux based system in order to read that SD card. If what I said just goes way over your head, just get a replacement card. Exactly. But if you want to fiddle with it, there are some people, Tim, online who have fiddled with the SD cards to make them play more games or to add games and things like that. But it is a little bit of a cumbersome process. I will warn you up front. So again, Kelly, here what we want to do. Check our voltage like Tim mentioned, but let's also, if we get our voltage correct, we may need a replacement SD card for our Game Elf board depending on the issue. So Kelly, hopefully that answers your question, and good luck getting your Game Elf cocktail back up and running. Because Tim, how frustrating is it when you go to play a game and it goes for 30 seconds and then restarts?
Yeah, it doesn't make for a fun play.
Exactly. Nobody wants to play that game. So you have to be really fast. Can you beat Gallagher in 30 seconds? No. That's the question. So anyway, Kelly, hopefully answers your question. Good luck with your cocktail. And Tim, it looks like Louis did a how to clean your PCB. He actually linked to a thing. We also have inspecting an arcade board, Tim, which is another, if you want a little bit more about how to clean boards, inspecting an arcade board, our video and post on that is good as well. And Knights of Old, he's saying you can clean boards with Simple Green. Oh, hang on. Let us go back. Knights of Old says, I have a lot of dust built up on modern PCBs over time inside my cabs. Will this cause problems? Should we just aim to keep it dust-free? If so, what are our best methods and products? Now, Tim, there are a lot of games where we feel like the dust held them together.
Yeah,
we will say that up front. So, I mean, it's not a bad idea to just keep it like it is if it's working. But there's not a bad idea to clean it either if you want to go that route. And
just be careful.
Exactly. Like Louis said, we recommend Simple Green, Tim, mainly because it doesn't leave film or residue on the board when you clean it. So, and you can also put them through the dishwasher, like we mentioned before. Gentle cycle, no soap. Gentle cycle, no soap, right?
Sure.
So, if you're going to do that, or just like water only, or like they have the little hot water only cycle if you've got that on your dishwasher. But the most basic cycle, make sure that you let it dry all the way if you're going to do that. But Simple Green really does clean up pretty well, Tim, on those boards. And just alcohol is okay a lot of times if you want to do that as well, just depending. So.
Or if you're like me and you have a daughter, you can take one of her old makeup brushes and just lightly dust it, and that sometimes will do the trick. Very soft bristles.
Exactly. So we've used the little hardware brushes too from the store, the same ones you'd get just for cleaning various things. You can use those as well. So, but Louis linked to all that. That's good stuff as well. Michael, you can use Canopix as a boot disk. That way you can use Linux without touching your Windows installation. So yeah, there are Linux Live CDs, Tim. That's what Michael is saying. So let's say you have a Windows computer, but you need to run Linux. Okay. You can burn a Linux boot CD, put the CD in, turn your computer off, turn it back on, let it boot from the CD, and you're in Linux.
Wow.
Without touching your hard drive. So Linux Live CD may be an option for you as well. There's a lot of different ones besides Canopix. There's a lot of them out there.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. Super Nintendo Zach, did y'all make it out to the American Amusement Auction? Not much there this time. I didn't make any purchases. No, we didn't, unfortunately. No. Tim, last weekend was really busy. I think we had a lot of stuff going on. So, unfortunately, we did not make it out there. But, Tim, we all know that David runs that. We always want to support David. And so those of you who did buy stuff and support him, we thank you guys for going out there. David's a really nice guy. We've known David. How long have you known David, Tim?
Gosh, 20 years probably.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're in the area,
20 years.
I was about to say, if you're looking for arcade cabinets and you're in an area where American Amusement Auctions is coming, then you should definitely go and check it out. Let's see. Inspecting Arcade Board, Louis went ahead and linked to that one as well. That's good. And Linux Boot CD, Louis linked to that as well. So I think we're good. Right. We're caught up. So let us move to this next question here, Tim, from Sandor. Is that it? With the accent mark? I'm just trying to get it. So anyway, I have an arcade power supply with normal plus 5 volts DC and 12 volts VDC lines. But they are only reading 4 volts DC and 11.4 volts DC, respectively. What do you think I can do? Can I repair this somehow, or do you think a warranty return is in order? Thank you in advance for your answer. So, Tim, we have Sandor here, and it's obvious that his power supply is running a little low on the voltage side. So he's wondering if a warranty repair is in order, which makes me think...
So he must have a newer one.
I was thinking a newer game, but I was also wanted to take this opportunity maybe to talk about linear old-style power supplies as well. So kind of the difference and what we'd recommend for both. So, Tim, let's say Sandor has a linear old-style power supply. What would you recommend for him?
Then if it's a linear, kind of the old-school one, like in a Centipede or something, they're kind of big.
They are too?
They look like we'll show a picture of it in a minute, but, they always look like a big amp.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Well, that's what it is, kind of, yeah.
And so, in a way, I would rebuild one of those if I had the opportunity and could, because they still sell the parts and the caps and stuff. I would go ahead and rebuild one of those. If it's a newer style, what we call switching power supply, or the ATX style, I would, number one, I would unplug everything and just, what does it read without any kind of load at all?
Right.
And is the voltage is still low? Well, most of them have an adjustment on it, and you can turn that up and try to tweak that. Now, if without anything on it, it's still reading what you're talking about, then yes, I would talk to them about a warranty replacement. Say, look, I've got no load on it except for the power coming in, and it's not reading enough voltage. Now, if it reads plenty of voltage without anything on, and then you hook up your stuff and it drains it back down, then I would start looking at what is causing the drain. In other words, it could be still the power supply can't handle that many amps or the load. That's where I would talk to the manufacturer about that. But I would start unplugging one thing at a time, like the monitor or the game board and stuff. Maybe even a coin light sometimes, a wrong bulb sometimes can do some damage and drain some voltage down that you like you wouldn't believe. So I would look at what is causing the drain if that's the problem. Now, like I said, without a load, if it's reading that and you've tweaked it and that's as high as it goes, then yes, there's something internally wrong with your power supply. It shouldn't be that way. If you're asking about warranty, if it's new, then it shouldn't be that way.
Sounds good, Tim. So let me go ahead and put up the slide here. And Tim, I put a AR board up there from Atari, Tim, just to give you an idea. So it really depends on what kind of power supply you have as to whether we recommend a rebuild or a replacement. If you have a classic or linear style power supply like the Atari AR board, Tim, or if you have a Williams game that has the separate breakout power supply, then we're going to lean more towards a rebuild. Rebuild kits are available for most classic power supplies, Tim. And that's the nice thing, is that the rebuild kits are easy. Basically, you just replace part by part. There's nothing complicated about them, and you can get them up and running pretty well. Rebuild kits fix 90% of problems.
I was going to say, one thing I was going to say about that, John, we probably have done 20 of these or more, and yeah, maybe one time it didn't work.
Right.
It was like something else that just isn't in the kit was wrong. Most of the time, everything's in the kit will fix, because you do a shotgun approach and just replace everything. Had fixed all those issues.
Exactly. Now, if you have a switching power supply, either a standard one like the one we have here from Retro Arcade US, Tim, or if you have an ATX style, then we are going to recommend going with a replacement instead. You can rebuild these, Tim. I mean, there's nothing saying you can't rebuild a switching power supply, but the replacements are readily available, and typically they're not very expensive, and you can get your game up and running super quick just by replacing it. And so, if you've got a switching style power supply, in most cases we're just going to replace them. If we have a classic linear power supply from a classic game, typically we will do a rebuild on it. And like Tim mentioned, if your power supply is under load and you're getting the drop voltage, that's one thing. But if it's not under a load and you're still getting low voltage, that is definitely a power supply issue.
Right.
No ifs, ands, or buts. If it's low under load, there could be a short, or there could be something else causing it to drain down. It could be, though, that you don't have enough amps. But typically, if the power supply that is in the game now was designed for that game, it's not going to be an amp issue.
Yeah.
Because they are going to put the right power supply in that game for the amps required.
Exactly.
So just keep that in mind, Sandor. But hopefully answers your question, and just let us know what you end up doing with yours. A warranty replacement may be in order, but check it on-load, off-load, see if there's a difference, see if you're still getting that power drain, and then, of course, if it's off-load, then you can request a replacement. If not, you may need to check the wiring in your game, other parts of your game, to see what's going on. So
yeah, he didn't say what game, did he?
He did not.
And,
no, he did not indicate.
I'm always thinking about redemption-style games and stuff that might have a hopper or a card reader or something that could draw that voltage.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about a lot of times. But in a classic game, you shouldn't be drawing much voltage other than what that power supply is originally reading.
Exactly. So, Sandor, hopefully answers your question, and good luck with your repair. Tim, another question from Knights of Old. He says, what's a fair price per hour for a home tech visit to repair, and tips on identifying legit techs besides word of mouth online forums? So, pricing-wise, I mean, Tim, we don't charge by the hour typically. We charge a flat rate for troubleshooting. So, which usually covers our gas and time,
right?
What we think it's going to take. And then after that, we charge a flat rate for the repair, what we think the repair is actually going to cost. So, and I can give you an estimate. Sometimes it's more than that, but
yeah,
we estimate, it may vary by a little bit up or down when we give you that, but it's
hard to say depending on what area of the country you live in. For instance, where we live, minimum wage is $7.25.
Right.
And, that's probably, in California, it was like $15 an hour.
Correct.
So that would definitely, if we would charge $25 an hour, you might charge $50 in another part of the state. So what are you comfortable with? I would more or less, obviously he's talking about getting somebody to come look at it.
Right.
That is going to be very hard to find. I don't know of a database right now. We've thought about in the past of doing one, but problem is, we live in the great state of Texas, and probably in a 5-county area. I doubt we could find anybody if we had to.
Right.
But
our closest tech would be probably 2 hours away.
All right. One of the reasons why we learned how to fix games because we couldn't find anybody to do it.
Exactly.
And also had an interest in it. So hopefully, if you can find somebody that's another hobby or collector.
He says it's in Seattle.
Can work more. Seattle, you're going to definitely... yeah, I'm going to guess, if you can get somebody for $75, $80 an hour, you'd probably be doing good. Mm-hmm. And to come to your house and troubleshoot it. Maybe, I can tell people, everything's relative. Find out, what are you good at? What do you, maybe your wife is a great cook, or you're a good cook or something.
Man, Tim, you nailed it. 75 or so is what I've seen, but that gets way high. And that is correct. I mean, but But
I would say that would be a going rate for that area, and not really downplaying that. Probably what I would charge if I lived in that area to do that work. That's what I'm basing on. Also, there are things... for instance, there was a guy that wanted a pinball game fixed here, and I knew that this was would be a tough one. And could I fix it? Yes. But I honestly recommended somebody else who charges more per hour, but I knew they could get in. They fixed it in a couple hours, what would have probably taken me 5. And the guy actually ended up saving money by going with them. And he was kind of shocked that I would recommend somebody else that costs more. But I'm like, this is why. Because he's better. This is his area of expertise. So depend on the game, depend on what you got. Some people, even though they charge, I might can get in there in an hour in a game that I really knew and fix it in 1 hour, whereas another guy that only charges 40 took 3 hours, and you end up saving. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, experience matters.
Right, it really matters. So, fortunately, though, in Seattle, I know for a fact that there's a lot of collectors.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even some of the barcade people. I would hit up and say, who do you guys use?
Or if they have their own techs.
Right, or if they have their own techs, maybe they would do it on the side. Maybe there's something you could offer. Maybe it's a barcade that has a tech. You could say, hey, man, look, I could come in here and I can do some cleaning or something or organizing or something. I've always tell people there's a will, there's a way, and there's even a cheap way if you're maybe you're a house painter and you or something, you know. So the barter system often works good with collectors and stuff. But I would just be wary that most people... you just don't have a ton of people that advertise, this is what I do, and I fix, but hopefully in a bigger city you might.
Absolutely. So, Knights of Old, good luck trying to find someone. Now, as far as finding somebody not by word of mouth, I mean, really, word of mouth helps a lot in forums because those people, if they're on the forums or if somebody's recommending them, then they're probably pretty decent. You could go with somebody you don't know, but, I mean, if you don't know them, then you really don't have much to go on as far as experience is concerned. And so, you know, even if you go with somebody you don't know, a good idea is to ask for references or people that they've done repair work for in the past to make sure that those people are still happy with the work that they did.
Right.
So, you know, I don't think, Tim, people... we've never had anybody ask us for references, but we could always give those out if somebody wanted them. You know?
But if you're kind of new to us, what you'll understand, what we do a lot of times is the general troubleshooting. A lot of stuff like monitor chassis can be shipped off for repair, and we got a resource page. If you got a board issue, it can be sent off for repair, and we have a resource page for that. If you're having power supply issue, we teach you how to do that. So, you know, don't despair. I think that we can help you, and if you'll check out our videos and stuff, depending on what game and what specific problem you have, I think we can save you a lot of money and hopefully a lot of headache too.
Sounds good, Tim. I think we'll wrap it up right there.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's just pricing varies. Just kind of sum it up as to, you know, part of the country and where you're at and experience of the tech. And then, like Tim mentioned, a lot of the resources we have can help you out. But the forums and word of mouth are good ways to find people. And if you find someone you don't recognize from a forum or by word of mouth, references may help as well. So, Knights of Old, hopefully that answers your question. Okay, Tim, let's move to James real quick. James says, hello, I'm new to arcade games. I am 48 years old. I've always wanted an arcade but can never afford one. I got lucky and got not just one, but 3. I have a pole position 2 and a pole position 1 cabinet, a double dragon, and a Phoenix. I'm working on them one at a time. I've got the Phoenix working somewhat. It has sound and shows the main screen. I can coin it up, but when I press the player 1 start button, it blinks and goes back to the startup screen. I'm pretty good with my hands and can fix things. I would love to fix it myself, but I figure I'll have to send it off. Thank you for any help you can give. James from Ohio County, Kentucky. Kentucky, right?
Right.
KY? Yep. Kentucky. So there we go. Now, Tim, our good friends from Broken Token are also located in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So, James, if you're looking for somebody in your area, I know Kentucky's semi-big, not as big as Texas, but I know it's semi-big, so they may be far away from you. But I would think that they may be even within driving distance. Just depending.
Hopefully so.
So, I mean, if you want to reach out to Brent and Whitney at Broken Token, it may be worth your time. But with that said, Tim, I mean, what we're having here is we've got, basically, he's got 3 games, but he's working on the Phoenix.
And nice score, by the way. If you've never always wanted a game, you get those 3. It's a pretty good start.
Absolutely. So,
welcome
Tim,
to the madness.
His Phoenix works, it's got sound and everything, but when he hits the start, resets. And so this is very similar to the Game Elf problem kind of that we were talking about earlier.
Right, that's where we always, the ASAP approach, always start at power. And that's exactly where I would start with this one. And make sure you can check the voltage, that you're getting the correct voltage from your power supply. And then it may need to be rebuilt or replaced. But again, that's what we kind of a theme. You ever find sometimes we have these themes of the night? You know, it's like always start at power because those resetting issues a lot of times are indicative that you are not getting the right voltage.
Exactly. And just the same stuff that we said in the Game Elf question earlier, Tim. Just make sure, check your power supply. Make sure that you're getting that +5 and that +12, Tim, because Phoenix also uses +5 and +12 volts DC. So make sure you're getting that. And Tim, if you need help identifying where those are, you can send us a picture of the inside of your cabinet. We can help you identify where those are, James. But another thing to keep in mind here, Tim, is he may have good voltage and it may still be resetting.
Yeah.
And Tim, old boards like Phoenix have a lot of socketed chips and things like that. And we already talked about our inspecting an arcade board video and post. Tim, on Phoenix especially, it has the dreaded ribbon cables that we see on like Tron and boards like that. And Tim, it seems like those ribbon cables always give us trouble.
Right. Well, they get very brittle and old. I say brittle, you know, when they're new, they're real flexible and nice. And then as they get old, they get kind of stiff. And there's tiny wires in there. Those can easily break or get pinched and stuff. So, yes, replacing the ribbon cables a lot of times does a world of good on those if you can get them.
Absolutely. So let me go ahead and throw up the post here, Tim. From your description, it sounds like either a power supply or board issue of some type. We always recommend starting at power, like we mentioned before. Make sure that your Phoenix board is getting the correct voltage from your power supply. +5 volts DC, +12 volts DC. Got to make sure those are right, James. If the voltage is good, but the game keeps resetting at the same point, try some of the steps we discussed in our post on inspecting an arcade board, including reseating the socketed chips. It may also be a good idea to reseat or replace ribbon cables as well, as these are a weak point for many old boards. And Tim, on the socketed chips, just reseating them. So literally taking them out of place and putting them back in. But when you do that, you need to make super, super duper sure that all those pins come out straight and go back in straight. They need to do that, because otherwise you could break a leg, and if you break a leg, the chip is no bueno. So don't break legs. But other than that, you know, I think you know, as long as you're careful, you'll be okay. Tim, chip pullers, like we talk about in that video, are a must-have.
Right.
Trying to do it with screwdrivers, you've got to be really careful.
And the more expensive, and they're not expensive, but you know, the really cheap ones are just not worth your money. Get a good one that look kind of like a, you know what I always think of? You guys will laugh that know what I'm talking about. You ever see the Masonic Lodge emblem or something that's a compass? I always think of those really nice chip pullers when I see one of those, because they have that triangle-like shape and they grab on. I always think, you know, I'm like a mason or something when I'm pulling that. But anyway, so get a good chip puller. Will save you a lot of trouble and time in that down the road.
Absolutely. So James, again, power supply, and then let's inspect that arcade board, reseat all the socketed chips, clean it up a little bit, like we were talking about, maybe with simple green or with a brush or something like that, like we talk about in inspecting an arcade board, and then check the ribbon cables, make sure they're good in place, and replace them if needed. And hopefully that will get your Phoenix working 100%. Please let us know if you continue to have issues. We'll try to help you more in the future.
I see a big orange screen over
there. And that means that we got some money. So YouTube Punk donated $10. Thank you, YouTube Punk. That is awesome.
Thank you.
You know, it says, did you know that you can mirror a screen in MAME on a single monitor? Fun fact. So there you go. So thank you, YouTube Punk. We are always appreciative of those of you who donate during the show. And remember that if you would like to donate during the show, there's a big money $ icon thing down there, Tim. If you click that and donate money to us, we will highly, highly appreciate it. All the money goes back into arcade repair tips and goes to fund things like Tim's hairstyle and other things. And of course, we've got a hat tonight. But, you know, it helps us support us. And so we always want to thank you guys for supporting us, of course. So, let's see. Oh, he said, YouTube Punk, just something I learned today from a friend building a MAME cocktail-like cab. Yes, you can. Cool. So, it's good stuff. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, Tim, can we take a timeout?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to take just a little time out here just for a second. And I'm going to go get you something like a lozenge real quick.
Okay.
We're going to get Tim a lozenge and we'll be right back. So, hold on tight, guys, just for a second. If I had Jeopardy music, I'd play it right here. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Yes, I muted the mic. I did mute the mic, right? I think we did. You guys didn't hear any of that talk that we were talking about, right? Okay, good. Tonight's show is sponsored by Ricola, guys. So there we go. So thank you, Ricola. Sorry, Tim. That's part of being a live show right here. Exactly. You know, I mean, sometimes we have stuff that comes up. We don't feel good. The show must go on.
Right.
Right, Tim? So there you go. So thank you guys for bearing with us while I went and got Tim just a little lozenge for him. Hopefully that will help with your cough, Tim. I just saw him over here, guys. His eyes were kind of watering. I don't know if you see it on the stream. So I was like, we got to get you something. I can't sit here and watch you be in pain. So hopefully that'll help out. But anyway, let us continue on with the questions real quick, Tim. And this one is from Orlando. Orlando says, my picture on my Wells Garner D9400, excuse me, Tim, monitor does not reach the top even though vertical position is at max. It does not fold over or look squished. If I stretch it, the bottom goes beyond the screen. Any ideas what the cause may be? So, Tim, you can see here in the picture that the little bar, that black bar at the very top of his screen. And so what he's saying is he can't get it any further up.
But it'll go down.
But it'll go down past it.
Okay.
And so now, Tim, obviously the D9400 is one of the digital CRT monitors that Wells Garner's had, like the D92, very similar model. But Tim, it is a newer style monitor. With that in mind, what do you think is going on here with Orlando's D94 monitor?
Well, we're going to assume that he's already tried to adjust it.
Right. I mean, it sounds like
because it will go down, but it won't go up. A lot of times, it's kind of like that middle, we call them jail bars or a middle line or something. Sometimes a cap kit will help.
Right.
But sometimes if you move the game or something, your yoke can kind of get shifted a little bit, so you might have a little issue there. But I'm going to go, it could even be that just your bezel has shifted. Sometimes I worked on a monitors to realize that the actual bezel had, or not the bezel that you see of glass, but the black plastic
shroud,
piece,
I guess.
the shroud has come down or something. So sometimes just moving that, but if it is, if you took all that away and you still see a big black line on top of your monitor screen and the bottom will fill out, a lot of times that's when you have to go in and do a cap kit in the vertical section to kind of fix that to where you can reach that area.
Yeah, and Tim, like you mentioned, since this is a digital monitor, it has the on-screen display menu. And there are hidden menus in there, and we always forget how to get to those.
And
but if
like
you talk to Wells, they know how to get to
right,
those.
That
so.
pin, or do a Google search. I bet you can find it. There's like a pin cushion and trapezoid.
Now, those are on the main, and so that's what I was also going to say is that he may need to adjust the geometry settings of his screen in order to get it up. So he may have to go up with like the trapezoid to make it fat at the top, and then adjust like the outer section. Sometimes you have to mess with the geometry settings a little bit more in order to get it to sink in like that. There's a lot of different settings on that monitor, Tim, since it is digital. But unlike a lot of monitors, Tim, it does not have a lot of potentiometers on the board because it is digital.
Right.
And so you won't find a lot of those. But like Tim mentioned, cap kits. Even on digital monitors, guys, cap kits can help with this. Okay. In fact, we've seen it on D9200. And Tim, I'm going to go ahead and throw this up here. So we're going to assume that based on your message, you've already messed with the vertical position and size on the on-screen display, like we mentioned. You might also reset it back to factory and then start from that point. So reset all of the geometry, all of the size settings, just reset everything. There's a recall, Tim, I think, in that monitor.
That's a good idea.
That resets it all to factory and then see if you can dial it in from there. Now, like Tim mentioned, you may have to mess with the geometry settings in order to get it to fill up the whole screen as well. Now, Tim mentioned the yoke will sometimes drop in games. Typically, when we get a yoke drop, though, Tim, we get a convergence issue with that.
Right.
Right, because, I mean, because if the yoke moves at all, a lot of times it messes with the convergence.
Yeah, and your colors and all kinds of stuff will
exactly.
look weird.
We're not seeing much of a convergence issue here, so it probably not a yoke issue. Possible, probably not. But it may not be a bad idea to see if you can push the yoke up a little bit. Because sometimes, Tim, those little, what people use to shim up the yoke, sometimes when you move it, those shims will come loose or come out. And so you may, if you can tilt that yoke at all up, just try to do it gently. If you can tilt it all up and it moves that picture, it could be the yoke, but probably not in this case. We've also had bezels, like Tim mentioned, or shrouds, probably a better way to say it, that have moved when we move the game. And so make sure the shroud is in the correct position on the monitor. It could be that you have it up too high. And so that's why it looks like you have space up there. If you move the shroud lower, you may be okay. But Tim, like we said, bad caps in the vertical section can cause this. And Tim, I linked to our friend Michael's page, arcademonitor.com, where he has a D9200 that has a very similar problem. Guess what? Replaced about 3 caps in the vertical section, back to new.
Okay.
So very possible that it could be a cap issue. Even with digital monitors, guys, caps play a big role. So with all that said, though, Orlando, try all of that and see where you get and keep us updated on your progress. If we think of anything else, too, Tim, we'll let you know. And, Tim, it's never a bad idea to reach out to Wells. Because especially a monitor like the D92 and 9400 series, they're still supporting those monitors. There are so many of those monitors that are still out en route. And so if you have one of those, not a bad idea to reach out to Wells Garner support and then ask them if they've got any ideas as well.
Ask them what the D stands for. It's always funny.
Does it actually stand for something besides digital? I always thought it was just digital.
No, what they will say, it's a kid-friendly show.
Oh, okay. We're not going to say it then. Okay.
That's kind of like dang it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I'll keep that in mind.
That's a Wells Garner joke.
There you go. So, Orlando, hopefully answers your question. And good luck getting that positioning on your D94 back to a proper position. So... Okay, Tim, we have Knights of Old again. He says, why are original Bubble Bobble PCBs so expensive and rare? So many bootlegs? Different boards. Tim, there was a time when there were a ton of cheap arcade boards. Like Street Fighter 2s could be had for $30 and $50, and people are like, wow. The problem, though, guys, is that was 10 to 15 years ago.
Right.
And
they are getting rare.
I was about to say, in the 10 or 15 years since then, these boards have become rare and rare because, boards have died off or cabinets have been junked or whatever the case may be. So a lot of boards that used to be really cheap, Tim, are now very expensive because demand has gone up and then the supply has gone down.
Right.
So it is supply and demand. So a game like Bubble Bobble, the demand for that game is pretty high because there's a lot of people who like that game. And again, just like anything, Tim, just like any kind of market, it's supply and demand, right? So the less there are out there and the more people looking for them, the higher the price is going to be. And so, like I said, where Street Fighter boards used to sell between $30 and $50, now you can't touch one for less than $150.
Right.
Because supply has gone down, demand has gone up.
It's also part of what's the new classic, I could have, guys will laugh when I say that I know where a Double Dragon is I could have bought for $100 10 or 15 years ago.
Right, but now Double Dragon is a very sought-after game.
Right. And at the time, I thought that was too much for it.
Right.
It needed a little work, and I thought, well, I'm not going to pay $100 for that.
Sure. So, it really depends. Right now, Tim's right, the new classics. So a lot of guys my age, Tim, are now getting into arcade collecting, and as they're doing that, they're driving the prices up of the 90s games.
Right.
Whereas before, the 80s games always went higher, the classics, but now we see the price of 90s games going up. And with that, of course, pricing gone up. Barcades have also caused prices to go up as well, Knights of Old. So because we have barcades now, they're buying up a lot of extra parts and supplies and cabinets and all that kind of stuff is causing it to go up as well. So... yeah, I wish I could say things used to be as cheap as they used to be, Tim, but it seems like prices are always going up. So supply and demand, it is what it is, but hopefully you can still score a board for cheap. Look around on some forums and things, ask around, Tim. There may be somebody just with one line around somewhere. You never know.
Yep.
So okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, let's see. Delusional's here. Delusional's Arcade. You guys should check out his channel. Hey, Delusional, how's it going? Millstar Electronics, he says, good evening, Arcade Coin Up fans. Please support the live stream and make subscribe to this channel. Just comment, share, like, subscribe. Good luck, everyone. Thank you for that. So we always like it when people promote us, Tim. Always.
Yes.
So there we go. Okay, Tim, let's see what else we got here. Do we have any more questions? Are we still going?
One more, I think.
No, we got 2 more. Okay, here we go. So, Tim, this one's from Tim.
Okay.
You didn't send a question to yourself, did you?
I didn't.
Okay, good.
I ask a lot of questions, and I talk to myself a lot, but not this time.
Okay, well, there we go. Well, this one is from a different Tim. And Tim says, hi, I have an upright millipede that worked years ago. It sat in my shop for a while, and I stupidly plugged it in, which made a big spark at the wall. Then I went through troubleshooting process and ended up replacing caps. Now I've got a solid 5.1 volts and verified the rest of the voltages work, but it was beeping, so I started replacing chips per the manual, but never got it fixed. Socketed and replaced most, but not all, the RAM or ROM, whichever the manual said. Yeah, the manual will actually give you which chips to replace based on the beeps. Nice. If you guys aren't familiar with Millipede. There was a line in the middle of the screen, and at one point a few garbage characters in the lower left, but not now. fast forward to last weekend, I found a board that was tested out of a millipede, and I like how tested's in quotes there, too.
All right.
Tested out of a millipede cocktail. I changed the dip switches to match my board, plugged it in, and now the 1-player and 2-player lights flash, but I still get nothing on the screen. When I press either, they stop blinking, but there's no beeping or noise sounds at all. The LED is lit up on the board. I turn up the brightness, but still nothing beyond a bright monitor with burn-in. So, Tim, he is getting the bright screen, though.
Uh-huh.
Something to note. Any ideas on next steps? Are there any books out there that detail the troubleshooting for Atari or arcade machines like there are for pinball? All of my other arcade games work with a monitor cap kit and PCB cap kit, but Millipede is killing me, and it's the last non-working one I have now. Thanks. So, Tim, we have Tim with a Millipede.
Okay.
And it is giving him fits, it sounds
Right.
like. He's had a lot of trouble with this. Obviously, it went from power supply, which it sounds like he's got okay. Then it went to a board issue, and then he tried to troubleshoot that board, didn't work. But a tested board, still not working. So where does that leave Tim here? What kind of things does Tim need to look at if he wants to continue in the troubleshooting process?
Well, he talks a lot about the board and concentrating on the board. But what I'm be more concerned about with those lights flashing would be the big blue cap and also the power supply board. And did he repair those? Has he checked the voltages? They have little test points on there. I would be checking the voltages there. I would suspect that it would be the power supply board more than the arcade game board, especially after putting a tested one in there.
Right.
And I would be interested, wherever he got that one from, to put his in there and make sure that how it tests. But I would suspect that the power supply board or the big blue cap before a lot of that, the AR2 board, as we call it.
Right. So, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and throw this up here. Now, Delusional says he's got, tell Tim to sub to my channel. I just picked up a millipede with the same issues and plan on troubleshooting it. So,
okay.
Check out Delusional's channel if you want some more millipede troubleshooting tips. But we're going to throw a couple out here for you tonight, Tim. It sounds like he's pretty far into the troubleshooting process, right? I mean, he did a lot of good troubleshooting here, Tim. A lot of great stuff. When you replaced the caps, did you replace anything else? Resistors, transistors, diodes on the AR2? Because the AR2, Tim, is more than just caps. It's got a lot of diodes, transistors, and resistors as well. And so whenever we do a board like this, Tim, typically we rebuild it all. So we buy the rebuild kit and we just install the rebuild kit. Just replacing the caps may get most of it working, but you may have other issues. Just depends. Like we mentioned. So the whole rebuild, we also replace Big Blue, like you mentioned, Tim. Big Blue is very important. And a bad Big Blue can lead to a lot of issues. And so make sure that you replace your Big Blue as well. Be very careful when you replace Big Blue. Very careful. Okay, that's what we're going to say. Also, make sure you're measuring the voltage at the game board. Okay? If you're measuring the 5.1 on the AR board, it could be dropping by the time it gets to the centipede, or the millipede board, excuse me. So make sure they're actually measuring the voltage at the board level. Okay? Because if you're getting a voltage drop of any kind, you can't tell it if you're checking it at the AR2 board. So make sure you're actually checking it at the millipede board. Make sure it's getting exactly what it needs and that you're not having a voltage drop between the two. Now, Tim, like you mentioned, you didn't mention this, but you asked what book would be great. Tim, there's a great book on troubleshooting Atari games called The Book by Atari, and you can get a PDF version at the link below. Tim, we also have that in the notes, in the show description below, and Louie also put it in the comment section there.
Yeah, I would say if you don't have a copy, at least a digital copy of this, you need to download that right now and keep a hold of that. A lot of people ask me, John, they say, back in the day, how did you learn to fix games? Because I started in about 1980 and learning to fix games and stuff. We really didn't know, and Atari sent us a book. And that's what it was. We didn't know it at the time, and a lot of people call it the Arcade Bible or whatever you want to call it, the Big Book by Atari. And that's how I learned to solder and a lot of things, because it had a lot of simple, and it's not on a real high level, or, it's not like a MIT textbook.
It couldn't be
because people had no idea what they were talking about.
Exactly.
So it goes into detail and explains a lot of this stuff. So, guys, if you don't have that book, you need to get it now, and you need to download that.
The Book by Atari, you can get it at Text Files, and we have the link down below. And Louie also linked to our article that has a lot of arcade repair books that also has a link to it there as well. So make sure you have the Book by Atari. Lots of great troubleshooting. Tim likes to twist his wires when he solders. He twists them in, what's the way we call it?
In parallel,
in parallel, right.
Yeah,
and
not like this.
Right, which is the way I'd always done it. I'd always
like
done
this.
them. Yeah, you do it. Yeah, I was about to say.
Not like this.
And I'd always done them up, like together, and twisted them together like this. And when I saw that you did them, kind of like in a straight line, I was like, "Where'd you learn that?" And I remember you saying from the book, because the book actually teaches you that's the proper way to solder, because it keeps the wires in line instead of having like a little kink in the wire. Not that it matters, like per se, but it looks a whole lot prettier when you keep it in line like that. So, but the book has a lot of great like tips and tricks in it, and is a great resource for troubleshooting any kind of Atari games, especially Tim. In fact, if you look in the Millipede manual, guess what it says? Read the book by Atari, and it says it in it. So make sure you get the Millipede manual, which has the schematic and everything in it, but make sure you also get the book by Atari. Both those will help you. But make sure that you're measuring the voltage, again, at the Millipede board, not just at the AR board. It makes a huge difference. If you're getting low voltage when it gets to the board, then you may have some other problems with your AR board. So hopefully that answers your question, Tim, and good luck troubleshooting that game further.
Just a note, if you're going to print it, it is very thick.
Yes,
so
it is.
I would just download the digital
You need one of
copy
those
and
3
print
inch.
the...
You need the 3 to 5 inch binders if you're going to print.
Right, it's a lot of pages. So you can just download it and print off a page or two whenever you need it.
Yeah, exactly. Or, if you have a tablet, Tim, an iPad or something like that, great thing to keep on your tablet. So... let's see what else we have here. YouTube Punk, have you guys ever been to Free Play Arcade? No, we haven't. We haven't been to a lot of arcades, especially recently. Like a lot of the ones that have opened up, Tim. I'm definitely familiar with Free Play Arcade, but we have not been there. So, but hopefully we get to go at some point. Sounds like a cool place. Super Nintendo Zach says that's my go-to place, so that's awesome. And wish we had more arcade options in South Texas. Yeah, I wish we had more arcade options everywhere. It'd be really great to see more. Michael says, my Williams Firepower taught me how to read and trace schematics like no class ever could. Yes, pinball machine schematics will definitely test you on that. Tim, I think we had a crash course in that from a KISS pinball machine at one point.
Yes.
So, but, it's amazing, guys, just getting in there, you can kind of figure out if you do, even if you've never seen schematics before, the book goes over how to read schematics, by the way, if you've never done it. But but just looking at a schematic, you could kind of figure it out. When I was in college, I took a digital systems class where we actually learned how to read schematics. But if you're not familiar with it, just getting in there, looking at the wiring, and looking at the schematic, you can kind of figure out how things are supposed to go. So, but the book will help you with that as well. So, that's what I call the Western Electric Splice. Extremely strong. So there you go.
Well.
But anyway, there we go. Tim, I think we're caught up with the live chat. So we are going to move on. And Tim, I do think this is the last question here, Tim. And this was something we actually covered back on episode 2 a little bit of the live show, which seems like it was forever ago, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but I'm going to go ahead and we're going to cover it here again. So Tim, let me throw up Greg's question here. I'm looking for black laminate options, and in your video, you said to go to Home Depot and get some black laminate from there. I went there, and they had no idea what I was talking about. I'm sorry they had no idea what you were talking about. Hopefully, we'll get to that in a second. Also, is there a black vinyl wrap that is an option instead of laminate? And what is melamine?
Okay.
I think he means something else, Tim. Yeah. Okay. I think he means something else there, Tim. We'll get to that. That people talk about using. Can you send an Amazon or Home Depot link to the appropriate black laminate that you use or black vinyl wrap that you suggest? Thank you. So, Tim, back when we did that video, black Formica was in style, I guess you could say. But guess what is no longer in style?
Black Formica.
Black Formica or black laminate.
Any Formica.
Or any Formica. Right. When was the last time you saw kitchen counters in a new house with Formica? Like, it doesn't happen now.
Right.
People don't use it. Okay?
It's my house.
What? Your house,
yeah,
exactly.
House.
Your house, maybe. But Formica's kind of gone out of style. Well, since it's out of style, guess what? Home Depot and Lowe's aren't carrying anymore.
No, they're not carrying very much.
Exactly. But guess what? You can get it from their website still.
But in the after show, we're going to talk about an orange laminate.
Oh, really?
It was used in a particular show.
Oh, okay. Teaser. So there you go. Right. Stay tuned to the after show for that. But getting back to the question here. Yes, you can still get the laminate, but you have to order it online. It still runs about $45 a sheet, which is about the price it was when we bought it in the store. The problem is now you have to ship it.
Right. Or they may have a pickup in store option.
They may have a pickup in store option for you. I've got a link for you here, Greg. We're going to show that here in a bit. On the vinyl wrap side, though, Tim, back in episode 2 of the live show, you had talked about a vinyl wrap that you had used on an arcade game, and we're very, very happy with the results. You want to give us an overview of that? We
used it on the inside of a game, and I guess the question that we're discussing, would it have worked on the outside? And I think so. Stuff was really good. In fact, I bought some more to do another game with, and it wasn't necessarily the inside where nobody could touch. It was down where people could touch it. So not technically the outside, but the outside, like right here.
Right, I've got pictures. We'll show
where
you in a
this
second.
could be touched on another game. And so it held up great. So I would highly recommend that, and it's very inexpensive.
Right, very inexpensive.
Yeah.
And we'll talk
it's
about
just
which
not
one you
super
recommend.
wide, but I think if you contact a company, they probably could sell you or make you a wide. And they have, the one we're going to mention is the PC 500. I noticed they have like a PC 900, which is a little bit more expensive. So maybe it's a little thicker. I would call that company and say, what's the difference? And see what they would say. I think they may even have some newer stuff that's a little tougher.
Right. And then let's talk about Melamine for a second.
Okay.
Melamine, Tim. It is a particle board that's been laminated with
Already
a
on there.
thermally infused paper resin coating. Okay, which basically means you can get melamine that is already black, kind of black laminated.
Right.
It looks like black laminate.
It's over particle board or PDF or something, but it's already on there.
Correct.
So you just cut out what you need, and
no
it's already
painting,
done.
exactly. No messing
gluing.
with it, no gluing or anything like that. It makes it super
Now, I would be
easy.
surprised if they don't still carry that.
Right. You can
In
find
store.
it. The problem is, Tim, most of the times when you find it, guess what color it is?
What?
White.
White? Okay.
White. You don't. Black is hard to find. Our friend Joe used to have the hookup on that. I
Well,
don't
then
know
you
if
can
he
make a
still does.
Galaga and call it a rare white Galaga.
There you go. Our friend Joe used to have a good hookup
Yes.
on the black, and I don't know where he's getting it from. We may have to ask him, but he used to have a really good hookup with that. They do make it with the thermally infused black coating instead of the white, but it is harder to find. So but Tim, really only recommend that if you're going to go with a brand new cabinet. If you're
Well, it's
building a
like,
cabinet from scratch.
Let's say the cabinet that we built from, or Arcade 1-Up, a lot of those are already made like that, or
Right.
from Holland Computers in the kit, they
Right.
already are made like that.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Those are great examples of melamine, Tim. Exactly. But I don't know where to get sheets. Holland Computers may be a great people to ask about that, since they do sell so many cocktail cabinets.
Yeah.
That may be a good idea. We could ask the guys
Yep.
over there. So, but so that's what melamine is. But it's really only good if you're building a cabinet from scratch.
Right.
Or if you're replacing part of a cabinet. But, I mean, if you're just laminating, or if you're just trying to either paint or wrap or laminate a traditional cabinet, then melamine's not really helpful to you,
Correct.
So there you go. So let's go ahead and throw this up here, Tim. So unfortunately, laminate countertops are not as popular as they once were. So many hardware stores no longer stock these sheets. With that said, you can still order them from Home Depot. And Tim, guess what? Link.
There's a link.
There it is. And it's also down in the show description, so you can see it down there. Tim, as we know, Formica was pretty tough stuff. Now, what I linked to, Tim, was the cheap stuff. The cheaper version.
Uh-huh.
You can get the actual Formica brand,
Okay.
too. But the nice thing about using that laminate is that because it's a countertop laminate, it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so it takes a good beating. And, Tim, with your Tron's a great example of the one we did. That stuff is just so tough, you can beat it to death, and it just never seems to scratch or scar up.
Right.
Because like I said, it was made for countertops. And Tim, I think they also put that extra coating on there, like a clear coat or something on top, that kind of gives it a little bit more protection as well. I don't know, but I know it's tough stuff.
Yeah.
So, but if you need it, there it is right there. The vinyl wrap, Tim mentioned, the Avery PC 500 signed vinyl, which they do sell in in sheets big enough to cover an arcade cabinet, Tim.
Okay.
The one that you linked to, though, was like a 24 by
Right, it's a little-
5 yard.
It was a little narrower.
A little narrower for like an arcade cabinet,
Okay.
but you can, if you contact a sign place, you can get it in the bigger size. But
Okay.
you have to contact somebody who sells it, but you can get it. Now, it's more expensive than the laminate, okay, is going to be, but maybe not after shipping. So, because after shipping, the laminate may be more expensive depending. So, but there you go. So, I mean, that's something to keep in mind. But, Tim, people have also had good luck with the 3M car wrap vinyl. I've seen projects that use that. And, Tim, in fact, if you look at this bottom left-hand corner, the Killer Instinct down here from solid-orange.com, you'll see that he wrapped the front of that with the 3M car wrap vinyl.
Nice.
And it looks really nice. And I'm going to show your wrap results here in a second.
Okay.
And then we already talked about melamine, Tim, and what it is. So there you go. Delusional says you can Google Nintendo laminate for Skyskipper project. Apparently they had some for that as well, some laminate that they used. I don't know,
Nice.
but there's a lot of different projects out there. People have used a lot of laminate. Tim, we used to use just straight off the shelf, basically Formica. And
Yep.
Formica's the name brand for the laminate, guys. it's kind of like saying
Kleenex
exactly Kleenex or anything else. So, what is it? I was thinking sheetrock and what's the name brand stuff? I forget. But stuff like that. We have a name brand. Yeah, exactly. Gypsum or whatever the case may be. So there you go. Oh, Whitney has great examples of a Nintendo laminate. And again, Whitney from Broken Token, good friend of ours. If you guys want to see some great laminate examples, check that out as well. So now, Tim, here are your laminate results with the Avery PC 500 signed vinyl. So this was, what game was this, Tim? This was from episode 2 of the live show.
Dog Pounder.
Dog Pounder. So this is a game that takes a lot of beating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what, is this like, do balls bounce up
Balls
here?
are down there, and you push the bone, and they pop up and try to go in the dog's mouth, and they hit the side there. And
so this side was...
ATEC tried to paint it, but it just did not come out very good.
So this was the side that was, did not have the vinyl application on it, right?
Right.
And then this is what it looked like after you put the vinyl on there.
Yes.
And it looks beautiful. I mean, golly, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if it's still holding up. I guess we'd have to go check it to see as far as you know.
I saw it not too long ago, and it was looking great.
Okay. Sounds good. So
after several years.
Yeah, awesome. So, I mean, that's the PC signed vinyl, the PC 500 signed vinyl that you used on that, and it looks really good, as you can see. So vinyl may be an option for you. We've had the experience with the signed vinyl, but a lot of people have had experience with the car wrap vinyl and had really good results with that too. So it just really depends on what your preference is. I don't know if there's a cost difference between the two.
As far as what you use. Buy like $5 for a roll of 15 feet on Amazon.
There you go. So yeah, but I was about to say that's only 24 by like 5 yard.
Right.
So which would get your height, but maybe not get your width, because your cabinet may be maybe deeper than 2 feet. And so if it is, you may have to go with the a little bit bigger piece, which you can get from sign shops a lot of times. Is what they were saying, Tim. But the laminate sheets that I had were 4 foot by 8 foot, which were the exact same size that we use in our video. And so you can use that, and like I said, it's $40 a sheet, $45 a sheet. So I mean, it's pretty cheap. You can do a cabinet for $90. Isn't that what we used to say? Both sides. And so we've used it a lot, had really good results with it. But Delusional is saying that Whitney has some laminating tips as well that he did for Skyskipper. So if you want to check that out, highly recommend. Anything that Whitney does, I'm sure is good.
Yes.
But we'll put a stamp of approval on that. So. Now, Tim, that was your tech tip from live show episode 2. Okay. So I thought that'd be a really good time to move into our tech tip for this month. So let's go ahead and throw that up here real quick.
Well, this month we want to talk about what's the difference between a slow blow and a fast blow fuse. Some of you probably know this right off the bat, but maybe you don't really know what the specific differences are. Slow blow fuses are often thicker lined in the middle. You'll see it'll say like a 5 amp and it'll be a slow blow. They can withstand transient pulse currents like the surge current that happens when you power a game on and off. Because of this function, slow blow fuses are often called time delay fuses. You'll see that term sometimes. Fast blow fuses cannot withstand transient pulse currents and must be used in purely resistive circuits with a few to no surges, like circuits on boards where ICs and other sensitive components need to be protected. So like on your on a board, you might find a fast blow fuse, but let's say coming into your game, you might have a slow blow fuse, or you might have a Miss Pac-Man and have every fuse known to man.
Right.
All in one game.
Exactly.
And can cause all kinds of problems. So knowing the difference and where you need it. One of the main things that when we talk about fuses is to make sure that you're using the correct fuse. We've all been inside a game and looked and saw where either somebody put Wrigley's chewing gum or they just jumpered it. Foil. Aluminum foil. That's not a good idea to wrap a fuse in a foil. Get the right fuse. Find out what it's supposed to be. A lot of times when we'd go to auction, you'd see a game that was off, and the auctioneer would laugh, say it was probably just a fuse. Well, you want fuses to blow because that indicates something is wrong, and it will save a lot of problems. A $2 fuse is a lot cheaper to replace than, say, a $200 monitor or a $300 or $400 board. So when a fuse blows now, I don't just go, oh, great, it's just a fuse blow. I want to go, what caused the fuse to blow? I'm looking at where. Now, I have had fuses blow, turn around, popped a new fuse in, bam, worked for years. Most of the time, though, if one blows, the next one will blow. And sometimes we've even used a handful of fuses just to troubleshoot to see where the problem is. So having the right kind of fuse and the right amp of the fuse is very important.
Now, Tim, and we'll go back over this again. I'll throw up the slide. Basically, slow blow fuses are a lot of times what you find in the bottom of your game if you're looking at your power supply, because they are made to withstand a little bit of current. So if you're like coming from the wall, for instance, you're going to have some up and downs. It's not always 120. It may jump up a little bit, may jump down a little bit. The slow blow fuses are made to take a little bit of variation.
Right.
A little bit of variation. Whereas a fast blow, it doesn't take hardly any variation in current. And so as soon as there's a change, even a minor change in the voltage, then all of a sudden it trips it pretty quick. And so that's really different to me when I look at it like that. So
yeah, and it's probably because it's protecting something like your game board or something sensitive that you don't want those power surges to get to either.
Exactly. So, well, Tim, is there anything else about
I think that pretty much covers it. Just make sure that you're using the right kind of fuse and the right amperage of fuse every time you replace one. It really does matter.
Sounds good. So, thank you, Tim, for that tech tip, as always. I see Super Nintendo Zach is heading out. Thank you for being here for at least this part of the live show, and hopefully you can check the recording here in a bit. Now, Tim, I think that wraps it up for all of our questions and everything. So we have a couple of stories to cover. And, Tim, this next one has been probably the most popular, and it's the back and forth between Bandai Namco and AT&T. Have you been keeping track with this at all?
I have read the articles and even some subsequent articles that pertain to that.
So basically what happened is Bandai Namco sued AT&T on the grounds of false advertising and unfair competition, as well as copyright infringement under U.S. California law concerning a Miss Pac-Man mini cabinet. There it is. You see it? AT&T then released a statement that they had acquired a royalty interest in Miss Pac-Man from General Computer Corporation. So basically, anytime that Namco sells, because Namco has the license to produce, distribute, and license out the Miss Pac-Man rights, but anytime somebody makes a Miss Pac-Man product, before General Computing Company was getting the money, okay, but now AT&T is getting some money for that, okay? And so basically there's this little back and forth going back and, between these two companies saying,
this is not new. This has been going on since like 83.
Well, in a way. General Computing Corporation has had this royalty interest for a while, but it's just now that AT&T has come in basically and said, okay, we're going to we bought an interest in the royalties.
Right.
We are going to now get a cut of whatever Miss Pac-Man sells. And
General
so,
Computer said we could do it.
Exactly. Well, they struck
like,
some sort of deal. I don't know how much they paid, but these guys have been getting probably just these royalties kind of just creeping in. And AT&T probably came up and said, "How'd you like us to just write you a big fat check?
Right.
And then they can pay us." And these guys went sold. Right.
Pretty interesting.
So, Tim, I was thinking here, it's very interesting, but I was thinking maybe for the arcade debate segment tonight, we would talk about whether or not we thought AT&T has the right to produce Miss Pac-Man products based on their deal with General Computing Corporation. Okay, so does AT&T have the right to produce Miss Pac-Man products based on their deal with General Computing Corporation? Now, I should say, do you think? Because we're not lawyers.
Right.
And so we don't know necessarily, we don't know necessarily if they do or do not. But Tim, I thought before we did our debate tonight that we may do maybe a new segment that I like to call Arcade Repair Tips Theater.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, so I'm going to put this, hang on. Okay, I'm going to put this back up here real quick.
We got to get in our costumes.
That's right. So we're going to do Arcade Repair Tips Theater real quick. So, okay. Okay, are we here? Are we good?
I'm there.
Okay. Boom. Okay, here we go. Okay, so so you have to get you have to get into character.
Okay.
I don't know if you've got a character, but we have our characters. But when I say begin scene, we'll begin the scene.
Okay.
So do you need to do any kind of thespian exercises or anything like that?
Do I have to speak Japanese, or I can just?
No, you can have English. I think we're good with English.
Okay.
So here we go, guys. We're going to do a segment called Arcade Repair Tips Theater. Tim, we're going to take a little break, and you start whenever you're ready.
All right. Hello, I'm Bandai Namco, and I have the exclusive rights to produce, distribute, and license Miss Pac-Man products.
Well, I am at Games, and I license games from right holders, like you, to make different products such as flashback consoles. Check out this cool mini Miss Pac-Man that I made. Don't you like it? Look at this thing. It's awesome. What do you think?
What? I didn't give you the license to that. Here's a lawsuit.
A lawsuit?
Yeah.
Well, guess what,
Screw you.
Guess what, Bandai Namco? I reached an agreement with General Computing Corporation. And I get a cut of some of the royalties whenever a Miss Pac-Man thing is produced, whatever it is. And so now you have to pay me anytime you let someone use the license. So in your face!
I'm pretty sure the royalty deal doesn't matter when it comes to licensing. Whatever, I'll see you in court.
Okay, was that it?
That's it.
Did we do it? Is that good?
That's all.
Okay, we're good. Okay, there you go. So that is tonight's Arcade Repair Tips Theater. So now I'm going to keep this on. You got to keep it on. I'll be at Games for the rest of the night, and you can be Bandai Namco. And we can argue this here in a second.
We'll upgrade it from... from Atari to...
There you go. So, guys, obviously this has been a point of contention. So, Tim, let us go into the arcade debate here. Can At Games, produce Miss Pac-Man products based on the deal that they have? So, Tim, which side are you going to take? Are you
Well,
going
I
to take...
guess I'll take the Namco sign since
You
I'm
kinda
wearing
have
there.
to, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'll take the Namco sign.
Exactly. So
Quit
I will take
producing
the
it.
At Games sign, Tim. So do you think that At Games can produce Miss Pac-Man products based on their deal with General Computing Corporation?
No, that has nothing to do with licensing. That's a royalty deal. If you make some money off of them, which I hope you don't, that you should still not be able to do the license deal. Here's part of the problem. If you'll read the article, what it talks about is you showed this great looking cabinet that played the original arcade game ROMs, but what you sent out was some Nintendo version of it that didn't play right. It ruined it made us look bad, it made you look bad, and we want you to quit.
Well, here's the deal, though. You gave me the rights to do Pac-Man products, and so I made a Pac-Man product. It may not have been the same one I sent you, but I still made a Pac-Man product based on the license that you gave me. So I think that one is fair. The Miss Pac-Man license, look, you're having to pay me anyway when you license this out, so why don't we just work out something to where I can produce things myself? I don't think that's much of a problem. I mean, you know, I'm getting paid anyway. I think that I should have the right to produce whatever I want based on the fact that I already get paid per Miss Pac-Man license.
Well, I don't have anything else to do but sit around and talk about a 20-year-old license. So, and I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm not going to make anything new because this has been my milking cow forever. And now you're coming over and stealing part of my milk, and I'm going to see you in court.
You still make Pac-Man games, or Tekken 7 or 8 or whatever number we're on now. You still make games, but obviously all I'm doing is licensing the game. And in this particular case, I think since I'm getting paid anyway when you sell off Miss Pac-Man stuff, then, you know, I should be able to make stuff too. And I think that's really what myself at Games, or what you want to say, is debating here, is the fact that since you're having to pay me anyway, why not just work out some sort of licensing deal, and that way, like, maybe I can make Miss Pac-Man products and you don't have to pay me. How about we do that? Does that work?
You made a mini little scrub cabinet, not a real cabinet.
Hang on. Where's my scrub cabinet?
It's tiny. And I think that part of the problem is
looks so
we're
cute.
trying to protect our brand. We're trying to protect our copyright, and that it looks good and it plays like the original, because we want people to like games and to keep playing the original game and us to keep making money on those games.
Well, here's the deal, though. You didn't come up with Miss Pac-Man. That's why you're still paying royalties to GCC, General Computing Corporations, because they came up with Miss Pac-Man, and now I own those royalties, so I, therefore, should be able to make Miss Pac-Man cabinets. But what do you guys say? I think we'll end it there. Do you want a last word, Bandai Namco? Tim?
No, those guys have been milking that royalty forever too. We'll take that while we're at it.
There you go. So what do you guys think as far as the lawsuit is concerned? Do you think At Games should be able to produce Miss Pac-Man products based on their deal with General Computing Corporation? Let us know in the comments or in the live chat, or if you're watching this on Facebook, let us know in the comments section or reply it to us on Twitter. Thank you for joining us for a little bit of Arcade Repair Tips Theater and Arcade Debate tonight, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Okay, there we go. Are you going to wear your Bandai Namco for the rest of the night?
I might wear it to work tomorrow.
There you go. Yeah, look, you covered like the Atari like perfectly.
I know.
You made an Atari shirt, a Bandai Namco shirt, like just like that.
Now I'm going to have to pay them the royalties for wearing this shirt and making them popular again.
I was about to say, I got to like I'm trying to cover up the logo that's on. Mine's the Extra Life logo. If I do like that, is that better? Okay, but
what's
that's
the chat saying?
Okay, let's see what we got here. Thought Bally Midway distributed Pac-Man in America. What is wrong? Does that agreement mix in there? So, I mean, Bally Midway are gone, right?
Yes.
Like, they're out of business technically, and I think all of those rights reverted back to Namco Bandai, or Bandai Namco, or whatever it is. So, Bandai Namco definitely has the rights to produce and license and distribute Ms. Pac-Man.
If you guys don't know the story, it's a really cool story about General Computing.
Right.
Because that was some guys, I believe they were at MIT in their college dorm, and they basically took the Pac-Man and made it into Miss Pac-Man, and they were just kind of having fun with it, and then they produced it, and Namco was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Let's, and so they have been getting money all these years for that, I assume. But that's kind of cool. At Games just went around them and said, okay,
That's right.
you won't deal with us. And what's weird is Bandai and At Games have been working together on other stuff for years.
Sure.
Years.
I mean, they licensed out for even the recent Pac-Man flashback console.
Right.
The flashback blast.
But if you'll read the article, one of the things that they did seem upset about was the quality. In fact, they pitched one to Sony, and Sony scrubbed it and made their own.
Right.
And said, no, this is not very good.
Right.
So, in other words, it can't be cheap. I think that part of it was don't cheapen our brand. And I think I don't know if that was all, and I think they were really upset that they kind of went on the back door on them.
Yes.
But kudos to At Games for even attempting that. It was very smart on their behalf. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in court. And, of course, we'll keep following it and let you guys know. And it could really go either way. I don't know. I can kind of see a little bit of both sides to it.
If we have any copyright attorneys out there that want to chime in on this, please let us know. Because, I mean, I think those guys would have a better understanding of it. But the thing about it is that even if I've noticed, and you probably noticed this too, Tim, over maybe the last 5 or 2 years maybe, we haven't seen as many Miss Pac-Man products out. And I think it's because Namco realizes that, yes, they have the license to it, but if they put it out there, they have to pay General Computing Corporation every time they use it.
Probably so.
And so it's cheaper for them to license Pac-Man, and people don't usually have they don't know the differences between Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man enough to notice the difference.
Right.
And so, to most people, Pac-Man is fine. Miss Pac-Man is great too, but it's like if Pac-Man's there, I don't need Miss Pac-Man, right? And so Namco gets to keep, or Bandai Namco gets to keep 100% of the royalties from Pac-Man, but they have to share the royalties with General Computing Corporation anytime they license out Miss Pac-Man. So something to keep in mind. Hopefully everybody liked our little theater. I came up with that today, and I texted it to Tim, and he had no idea what the vision was until we got here, and then I think he kind of got it. But we had a lot of fun with that. I'm going to take off my At Games. Just because I don't want people telling me I make bad stuff.
You saw it here first, the first annual.
Yeah, exactly. Arcade Repair Tips Theater. There we go. So I thought it was very fun. Yeah, just having some fun. That's what we like to do around here. You're gonna keep your Bandai Namco on?
I like it. It matches good.
It does match good. It goes right over your logo. Didn't do that at all. So anyway, let us know what you think about that as we continue on here. Now, Tim, I believe YouTube Punk asked us if we were going to be covering this next topic, and I said the Magic 8 Ball said it is certain. And here it is. Former Donkey Kong champ threatens to sue Guinness over record removal. Billy Mitchell has sent Twin Galaxy Scoreboard a 156-page evidence package in an attempt to prove his innocence. Mitchell is threatening legal recourse against Twin Galaxies and Guinness World Records if they don't retract the defamatory statements against him and reinstate his expunged video game high score world records within the next 2 weeks. Now, Tim, that's been more than 2 weeks ago, I believe now. Yeah. So I don't know if Billy Mitchell went through with his threat or if Twin Galaxies has followed up with anything on that. But I have a feeling Twin Galaxies basically said heck no and sue us. If I had to guess, as we know, guys, anybody can sue anyone for anything. Okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have a case.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, though. He sent a 156-page evidence package. Isn't there 156 screens on Pac-Man?
I don't know. Is there?
Somebody fact check that one, Louis.
There you go.
How many?
And Twin Galaxies said to get lost, and that's exactly what I would think they should do. Because here's the deal. I mean, they made a decision. I think they should stick with the decision. You know what I'm saying? Now, here's the deal. Billy Mitchell has proved that he can get these scores live. Right. And if he can go back and get these scores live and redo them, then by all means do it. But should they reinstate scores that they've already found invalid.
I know. When I beat you on a main game, I count it.
There you go. But I don't think so. I think that if he wants to prove that he can get those scores again in a live, in a live setting with people watching.
It seems like there could be a medium here, an intervention. It's kind of like mediators. They say, well, just do it again on a dedicated machine somewhere. And we'll
Louis says 256.
256.
So,
okay.
Little
so
off there.
100 off. So
100
he's
off.
still 100 pages short, in my opinion. 256.
But obviously, they've already found a lot of these scores to be invalid because he was using MAME, basically. I mean, there's a lot of proof out there. And so, look, Billy, if you want to redo these scores, I think that's great. And do them in a live setting. You have all day to submit other scores as long as they're live. But to reinstate the scores that they already found invalid, I think is going overboard.
Me too.
So there you go. So before we go on here, Tim, kind of shifting gears, Joe DeLong says, do you guys going to review the new Arcade 1-Up Star Wars cabinet that's coming out later this month? It's kind of pricey, Tim.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I think, was it $400 or $500 for that? And unfortunately, we don't have a hookup at Arcade 1-Up to send us one for free. So it's probably out of the realm of possibility unless Tim wants to put up some money. Now, if you would like to donate that money for us to get one, we'd be happy to
Maybe
review
this
it.
wants us to do a review after we see it. We will.
Yeah, we'll see it at some point. There'll be one around. And so when we do, we will give you our opinion on it. But right now, we don't have any plans on purchasing one. We're not being sent one for review. And we don't have the money to purchase one. So it'll be a while, I would say. But, so here's the thing, though. All the Arcade 1-Up products that we played, for the price, they're very good.
Yeah.
And I don't expect Star Wars to be any different. I think it's a quarter of the price of an actual cabinet, which tells you something right there. I mean, you can't expect it to be exactly like the arcade, but it's going to play close enough that most people are going to be fine with it.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to.
It's a Little Caesars of the arcade world.
Exactly.
It's not the best pizza in the world, but it's $5.
Exactly.
What are you going to eat for $5?
Exactly.
They've all been
a very good deal, and so I expect the quality will be decent. It'll be obviously with the riser, it should be at a good height, and I mean I think if you enjoy that game, you're going to get a lot of play out of it, and I'm sure it'll play fine. But again, is it authentic? No, but if you just want to play the game, I think it'll be a fine experience. So, but we'll see. Moving on here, Tim. Okay, so Stern announced. They had previously announced this.
Right.
We already knew it was going to happen.
Right, and they took it down.
Right.
They brought it back.
Well, but even back at Pinball Festival a year or two ago, we knew that they were making it, but we finally got the pictures of Elvira House of Horrors, and you can go to IGN and see all the high-resolution pictures and everything. And Tim, this is done by Greg Ferreras and Dennis Nordman and the same guys who did the other two.
Right.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
And, it incorporates a lot of campy movies into it, which is nice. Mm-hmm. There's no pro model. It's only going to have a premium, a limited edition, and a signature. So you're going to have to jump up to premium if you want it. Tim, the artwork looks great. It looks like it's fun. It does have a pretty open play field, which is I've never been a fan of. I like a lot of close stuff to hit for people who maybe beginners at pinball. It's easier to hit the close stuff. So, but I think for people who like Elvira and like pinball, it's going to be a great game. And I look forward to playing it. Tim, I like a lot of Dennis Nordman games.
I like Cassandra Peterson. No relation.
There you go. So, but
got to meet her at Pinball Fest. Pretty neat. I think it'll be a fun game. Looks a lot of toys.
Exactly. So I think it's gonna be really fun. So I look forward to playing it. Hopefully we'll get a chance to play it. I don't know if we're gonna make it down to Houston this year. I've been trying to decide. It's in November. We have a lot of things going on, so we may not be able to make it down. But I bet I wouldn't be surprised if they have a couple down there to play. So if you're looking to play, you could do that, or visit a local distributor. They'll have one on the floor soon enough.
Awesome.
But check out the pictures. It looks really good, Tim. I mean, and I know a lot of people were kind of knocking it that didn't have a whole bunch of toys or something on it. But the toys don't mean much to me as long as it plays well, and it looks like it's gonna play really, really fun. So we'll see. And then, Tim, kind of in some sad news here, Suncoast Arcade and Pinball files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Now, Tim, this doesn't mean that they're going out of business immediately.
Right.
But basically, it means that they can't cover their bills or they're having problems with it, which means they can reorganize. But it's never a good sign when you see a Chapter 11. You know what I'm saying? That usually means that there may be some other things going on. So, Suncoast Arcade Inc., the sister company of Suncoast Pinball, files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection following a summons for unpaid rent on 2 industrial units it occupies. Suncoast Pinball was set up as an offshoot of the arcade division to design and build full-size arcade pinball machines. Their first title was going to be Cosmic Carnival, which featured highly stylized artwork by Dirty Donnie Giles, and so, or Gillies, or however you say it. Oh wait, I'm never good at that.
I think it's Gillies.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, the artwork on that game looked incredible. I never got to play it, Tim. I know that Fun in Mesquite, Texas had one, and I think they're trying to sell it now. But I've never played it. I walked by one. It looked pretty. I don't know how it played, but it's always sad to hear that a pinball machine company is going out of business. Agreed. It doesn't matter who it is. But this doesn't necessarily mean they're going out of business. It just means that there's some trouble ahead for them. So, again, just a news story here, Tim. They may be able to reorganize all their debt and be able to pay everything and be fine, but it's never a good sign when you're starting that kind of process.
Right.
So, just something to keep in mind. YouTube Bunk says, I wonder how many people have gotten into the hobby because of the 1-Up arcades. Is it a gateway drug? I think it is. But you know what I've seen is that people make arcades out of arcade 1-Ups. Like they have their little arcade room, just like I have my big arcade room. They have their arcade room with all arcade 1-Ups in it. And I think that's pretty cool. I mean, you know, because I mean it's still an arcade in a way. You can still come and play the games and everything. And so if you want to do that, if arcade 1-Up's your thing, man, you do your thing. I like having the full size ones, but I definitely see the appeal of the arcade 1-Ups for sure. So and me and Tim have said that several times. So let's see. Oh, Ernest says we already sold it, guys. So I guess they already sold the Cosmic Carnival.
Oh, okay.
There you go. So I mean, so much for playing it. But I think there's only like 7 of them that were made.
Wow.
8 of them. There's not many of them. So maybe a piece of pinball history.
They're going up in value.
Now, Tim, before we wrap it up here, I wanted to throw a shout out to somebody who threw us a shout out.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Do you know Zach at Retro Mansion? So. Tim, I was just, I was scrolling down my Facebook feed, and I saw Zach was playing something on his page, and guess who he shouted out to?
He shouted out to us, yeah.
To us! Which is pretty awesome. So we want to thank him for promoting us on his stream. That's always awesome. And we want to make sure that you check out Zach's stream at facebook.com/retromansion. Tim, he plays all sorts of cool games, and he plays, he streams them live, and a lot of times he plays with other guys and everything like that.
I like to join in and watch sometimes.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's really cool. Video game streamers who play games live, I think is a really cool thing, Tim. It's kind of like we're all sitting in a big living room together and watching, just kind of playing together. So I think it's a cool, like things like Twitch are just so much fun because it's more than just watching. There's an interactive experience that kind of goes along with it.
Zach's like PewDiePie for old people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go. So
he'll always say hi to me when I'm in there, and I like how he stays focused and talks and does all that. It's pretty cool.
There you go. So you guys check out his stream. Thank you for promoting us, Zach, and we're going to promote you because you did. So, I mean, that's always how it goes. So thank you for that. Now, Tim, let's go ahead and move to our little reminder here. We want to remind you that if you have arcade-related videos and you want some free advertising for your channel, we're looking for people to submit short videos, 10 minutes or less, about arcade-related topics. Send a link to questions@arcaderepairtips.com, and our staff will review it. If we like it, we'll use it during one of our live show episodes. Make sure you put a plug in for your channel so people will know where to find you. We look forward to seeing your submissions. Tim, we haven't had any submissions in a while, but we're always looking for channels to promote. And the reason why, Tim, is that it's hard to get monetized now. Used to be really easy to get monetized, but YouTube upped the requirements for getting monetized. And so we want to help as many arcade-related channels as possible get to the monetization mark to where you can actually make some money off your videos. So if you need help doing that, or if you just want to gain some subscribers and followers to your channel, send us over a link to one of your videos, and if we like it, we'll use it on one of the live shows. And then, Tim, we have our contact information. We have our email address at questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Put live show in the subject, and it'll get mentioned on the show. Again, that's questions@arcaderepairtips.com. And, Tim, you can send questions about anything there. I don't know, arcade-related, general questions. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if woodchuck could chuck wood? Whatever you want to send, you can send to us, and we'll try to answer them to the best of our ability. Our YouTube page, which you are on right now if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening, maybe you're listening to this and you'd like to check out the live video from this episode, make sure you go to youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. And Tim, we try to cover the comments from the last live show on the next episode. So now, Tim, we should also mention that if you're listening to this on the podcast and you want to see the after show, that you want to go to YouTube as well, because the YouTube video will have the after show on it as well. So again, youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. Then we have our podcast email at podcast at arcaderepairtips.com, and we have Eric and Rusty who host that. Now, Tim, I talked to Eric recently, and they're still planning to do episodes, but there's a lot of work that goes. I was about to say, there's a lot of work that goes into opening our own arcade. They opened a second game preserve in Houston, and him and Rusty are kind of over that location, and so they are busy doing that. But hopefully, at some point, they'll get back around to the podcast. And when you do, when you do. They will answer your questions if you send them to podcast at arcaderepairtips.com. And you can subscribe to the podcast at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com or stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com for Stitcher. Tim, we're also on Spotify. If you do a search for Arcade Repair Tips on Spotify, you'll find us there. And Tim, I'm a huge Spotify fan, love Spotify. So if that's your podcast app of choice, we are on Spotify now. And then we have our social media pages. We have our Facebook page at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com, and we have our Twitter feed at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. Tim, we want to thank Louie for being in the live chat tonight, but we also want to thank him for posting all that great stuff in there.
Yeah.
Okay, he really does a good job with that, and we want to thank Mark as well, who posts a lot of the videos and information about Elvira on there. So all that stuff you saw about Elvira, Mark was keeping up with. So we want to thank Mark for all of his work on that. But if you want to sign up and get all of the news, all of the arcade related news, sometimes good, sometimes bad, Tim, make sure you check out our social media pages at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com and twitter.arcaderepairtips.com for more information. Well, Tim, I think that about does it for the regular part of the podcast. We're about to move into the after show, guys. And if this is your first time watching us, the after show is basically where any topic goes. No topics are off limits. And Tim already teased some fair talk earlier in the after show. You also teased something about orange laminate.
Yes.
Okay, in the after show. Tim, we do not put the after show on the podcast feed just because we like to keep the podcast feed kind of arcade related. So if you're listening to this again on the podcast feed, you'll want to check out the YouTube video if you want to listen to the after show. Tim, is there any other things you want to tease in the after show?
Well, football season's now in full swing. We can kind of tell what teams are looking good and some that aren't looking so good.
There you go.
And where we're at with that.
Some football, some different sports topics for sure. Just general, maybe Halloween plans coming up and things like that. So, and arcade questions are always welcome in the live show episode too. Tim, we're going to talk about some arcade games you saw at the Texas State Fair. Oh. And so, which, since it's not really surprising, exactly quite surprising, so we'll talk about that as well. So if you're so inclined, stay tuned to the after show and hear about those topics. If not, thanks for joining us tonight. If this is your off ramp, then we appreciate you being here, and we hope that you join us on the first Thursday night of November, Tim, which will be our next episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember, Tim, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when we fix the game, we play the game. Take care, everybody. Right. We'll see you in the after show or next month, first Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
And we're back. Can you guys hear us? Looks like you can. Okay, here we go. So welcome to the after show for episode 32. Tim, how did the show go?
I thought so. I liked our new segment.
Arcade Repair Tips Theater?
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
I think I'm just going to keep this one around, like, and just hand it to people randomly.
Yeah, here's a lawsuit.
There you go. So, but, yeah, it was fun, guys. We always enjoy doing the live shows. And we enjoy doing the after shows, too. And, Tim, there's a lot to talk about, just in general. But, Tim, we always start off with our stock talk because, you know, YouTube Punk once gave us $10. And,
right.
And we've kind of been seeing where that $10 has been going. So, Tim, it took $10 that YouTube Punk gave us.
Probably been, what, about 6 months ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
And
we keep up with it every show.
It reached a high of $23.
Wow.
And lately, the stock market has taken kind of a dive, and it went down to $8. And today, it's back up to about $9.50. So we're almost back to breaking even. Had we sold, we could have doubled our money at $23. But we're just kind of letting it see how it plays out.
Yeah, and you know, timing, I mean, you can't really time the market, Tim, but there is a way to see trends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, one of the things I think vaping has hurt some of the marijuana stuff.
Maybe so.
Because that's what you're invested in, right?
Yeah.
But I think the news about it has hurt smoking kind of across the board.
Maybe so.
And so that may be part of why it's gone down. Now, Tim, I can tell you one stock that has gone up, though, and that is GameStop.
And that is amazing because they did not have good news.
No, they didn't.
And they filed for bankruptcy.
You know why it's going up, though?
Why?
Because people a whole lot richer than us are investing in it.
Yeah.
And they're investing a lot of shares. So there's a lot of analysts, Tim,
right,
that they're saying that it's going to go up, and they're buying up large quantities of shares. Now, Tim, we talked about that documentary. What was it? Betting on Zero.
Right.
We talked about Betting on Zero, okay, and how the analyst betted that basically he shorted the stock, betting it was going to zero. Well, there's a part in that where there's two basically analysts or two rich guys that are investing in Herbalife. Remember that? And he was basically, by buying up a lot of the stock, he was jacking the price up.
Right.
And you see, that's kind of what's happening with GameStop now, is that we have all these analysts that are suggesting, a lot of brokers, they're suggesting that people invest in it, and so it's driving the price up.
I bought a put on it thinking it will go down, but I was smart and do it till the mid-December.
Right.
Because I think right now, because once earnings are released, that's what will happen.
Right.
And a lot of people will panic after that. We'll see. But good for them. I mean, at least they're hanging in there.
And I think once the new consoles come out, the revenue's going to jump through the roof.
Yeah, because you got all the new stuff.
Exactly, right. I mean, the problem is that the console life cycles have gotten so long that you buy a system, you really don't have to buy another one for like a 10 or 12-year period.
Right.
Kind of like the original Atari, Tim. I mean, there was a really long time before the original Atari, before the NES really came out, the next big system. I mean, you can talk about the 5200, you can, talk about those, but really, those didn't sell like the 2600. You know what I'm saying? They're kind of improvements on just the already existing infrastructure.
Right.
But when you have a new console come out and people are excited for it, I think it really is going to drive the price up. The revenue's going to go up, and you're going to see GameStop go up. So I'm holding steadfast. I got AMD stock in stash, YouTube Punk says. AMD stock is a great stock. AMD, of course, Tim, owns ATI, which also, or bought out ATI, which is a graphics card company. And so AMD does a lot of graphics cards. And graphics cards right now have been doing really well. Right. And AMD, not only that, has also developed the Ryzen chipset, okay, which is a Ryzen chip, which is actually pretty competitive with Intel stuff, but cheaper. And so, kind of like what we saw with the Athlon XP series of processors, I'm getting really nerdy now. But back when Windows XP came out and we had the Athlon XP series processors, those outperform the Intel stuff. Well, the Ryzen stuff a lot of times is outperforming the Intel stuff, and it costs less. And so once people start figuring that out, I think you're going to see a lot more sales of AMD. So AMD is a really good thing to hold on to right now, I think. So AMD is a good stock. So let's see what else we got here. I think vaping is getting to be slapped, Louis says. Yeah, vaping, vaping investments were really good there for a while, and now we've got a tank because of all the news. And so I feel really sorry for people, Tim, who started vape shops, and they've probably been doing really well up to this point.
Right.
But it sounds like now it's going to be so overly regulated that it's not going to be worth it for a lot of these vaping shops. And so, look, I believe in freedoms, that people should be able to do what they want to do regardless of if it's killing them or whatever, which is why I would never ban cigarettes.
Quit smoking Here's an alternative. Oh wait, we're not regulating that. We're not making enough money off of it. Hold on, we're going to tell you how to do that too.
Exactly. And so, look, people are free to do whatever they want to do. So if people want to vape, they can vape. I mean, I don't think the government should step in too much. No more than they step in on the smoking industry, I would say. But it sounds like they make. I mean, some states are coming out for an all-out ban, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. And then you read these horror stories about these kids that have been hurt. So maybe some regulation would be nice. So.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we don't need kids doing it. I mean, I think it's the big thing. And Tim, we know a lot of kids do it.
Right.
I mean, your son is in high school. I bet he has friends that do it.
Oh, sure.
I mean, just because it seems like there's a lot of high school students that do it because it's safer than smoking, right?
Right.
And then, of course, all the health issues and things like that. So, I mean, look, guys, anything that you put in your lungs like that probably isn't good for you in one way or another. So it's
a lot of food we drink and.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of stuff. What's the one about Teflon? The documentary about Teflon I told you to watch.
Right.
You can't. Nothing is safe for you anymore. It is what it is. So, but anyway, guys. Now, Tim, this is news I did not put on here, but this is something that's been good. Almost all traders across the board are doing away with trading fees. Have you noticed this?
I've noticed this.
So Robinhood, which is the platform that we recommend, one of the platforms we recommend, has always been a commission-free or per transaction. There's no fee. So that means you can buy and sell stocks without having to pay a fee per transaction. But now there's even more people who are going that route because they have to compete with Robinhood.
Right.
They're trying to get the small-time investor, which are people like the people in this chat room. But Tim, the reason I like Robinhood is because it's easy.
Right.
It's like a super easy platform. And if you guys want to sign up for Robinhood, you can. If you use the links below, there's one for Tim, one for me. If you sign up for Robinhood, you get a free stock. We get a free stock. We're all about that. And Tim, if I get one more free stock, I get another free stock.
Oh wow!
Because you get 3 people signed up.
Okay.
So, but you could get Apple. You could get Facebook.
All right.
Or you could get Zynga and Sprint like me and Tim have.
Right.
But Robinhood is a great platform. But now, with everybody going zero commission or zero fees, I mean, you can almost go with anybody.
And some people trade 24 hours. It's crazy.
So I mean, it may be worth you looking at other platforms. But if you're just getting into it, Robinhood is a very easy platform. Tim also uses Webull, which is good as well. But it's a little bit more complicated, right, than Robinhood, you think?
It is, but it also, for a little bit more advanced, it also has way better charts and graphics and what do they call them? You can see what the bids that are coming up.
Right.
And so you can know, I can almost look at it and go, oh, it's fixing to go up, or no, it's fixing to go down. Based on the ones that are the level 2, so what they call it.
Very nice. So there you go. Let's look what we got here, Tim. A lot of AMD talk. AMD is killing Intel. Yeah, performance-wise, AMD is killing Intel right now. Intel stock's still pretty high, though. And Intel has a lot of contracts with a lot of different companies, and they make a lot of money, guys. I mean, compared to AMD, Intel's a much bigger company than AMD because of the contracts and things that they have. But, because here's the thing. Most server hardware, guess what it runs on? Intel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like servers do. So, but AMD, there's definitely a market out there for AMD, and their stuff is good. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, Louis says, the problem I have with vaping is that all of the different flavors are getting young kids hooked. And Tim, I think that's one of the things they want to ban are the flavors, right? Mm-hmm. They want to ban some of the flavorings and things, especially the ones that target kids. A lot of different places.
Yeah, because it's like cotton candy and stuff that...
Exactly. Kind of like menthol cigarettes, Delusionals Arcade says. Yeah, kind of the same thing. Okay, Tim, I think that does it for investment talk. Is there anything else you want to talk investment-wise? WWE stock went down a lot, but I think it's going to bounce back. So if I had a stock tip, I would say buy it now, because tomorrow night is the premiere of SmackDown on Fox. And so I think we're going to see a little bit of a bump because people get excited from that. And so if you want to ride a little bit of a bump, you can do that. I sold it when it got up to 100 because I was smart, and I figured that was the tap out for it. Same thing with Roku. So I had Roku stock at $30 a share. Okay, Roku jumped up to 150, and then it came back down to earth about 100. Okay, 100 is about where it should be, in my opinion, based on their revenues and their profits. And I think it's going to go down. So now is probably not the good time to get in on Roku stock if that's the way you want to go, because I think there's more competition coming in for them, which is going to be a problem. Amazon is being very aggressive. So, I mean, but when they were $30 a share, I felt like it was way underpriced, which is why I bought. And it ended up going up a lot. I sold at 100. I should have sold at 150, but I sold at 100. I still made money. But you never know. I mean, And that's why, Tim, if you see something that you use, a product that you use, and the stock price is cheap, you should buy it.
Right.
Because if you're using it and the stock price is cheap, it's probably going to go up.
Right.
And so look at the stuff you use around your house, find the stock, and see if where it's priced, and see if you're comfortable with it. And like I said, AMD is actually pretty reasonable, which is why if you're a big AMD proponent, you should probably buy AMD stock. Because, I mean, I think it will continue to go up. I think it's got a good trajectory to it. So there you go. But that's just guesstimates. And I'm not going to, you may get a loss on it. I don't know. But, there's no rhyme or reason to the market sometimes. And there's people with a lot, one thing we figured out, Tim, there's people with a lot of money who control the market way more than we do.
They do.
And all it takes is somebody with a whole lot of money to do whatever they do, and they can do whatever they
wreck
want.
it if they want to.
Exactly. So they can do, if a broker or an analyst who has a lot of clients or a lot of money, they can do whatever they want, and they can cause a stock to do whatever they want. So anyway, continuing on. Let's see what we have here. AMD and next-gen consoles, too, is what we're hearing. So
nice.
That'd be good as well. Let's see. Microsoft has an AMD processor in their new Surface. I did not realize this. They had Microsoft had an announcement for their new Surface computers, and apparently they've got an AMD in one.
Nice.
Very nice. Yeah. Roku's $100 right now. It is. It's high. It may have gone down a little bit from that, but it's hovering around that mark. But to be honest with you, based on revenue, it's where they should be. So, I mean, they're right on. Let's see. I played with the new Surface, piece of junk with absolutely no user upgradable parts, not even RAM. They glued the darn thing together. I mean, that's how all the Surfaces are. They're really not user upgradable. But, I mean, I have a Surface 2, and it still works fantastic.
Right.
It is optimized up the hill. So, while the hardware might not be upgradable, Microsoft does a really good job optimizing Windows for that hardware.
Gotcha.
And it shows. So, let's see. Like how rich people control Bitcoin. Yes. So you have a tip on Bitcoin that you gave me, and I think it's a great tip. I think you should probably throw it out there for those people.
It is very cyclical. If you go back and watch the patterns, it goes down to about 7,500, and then it goes up to about 11 or 12,000. So anytime it dips below, I'll tell you another secret. This is a secret for any stock, okay? Let's say Bitcoin is at 7,500. I don't always buy at the lowest. I'll say when it goes to 8,000, buy then. That tells me if it's at 7,500 now and tomorrow it's at 8,000, that means it's going up. So that's a good time to catch the wave as it's going up, and then I'll sell. So Robinhood also lets you buy portions of Bitcoin. I could buy $10 worth of Bitcoin.
Correct.
I can buy $100.
Pretty much every Bitcoin broker does.
Yeah.
They all let you buy a portion of it. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin.
Right. You don't have to buy, $8,000 for one Bitcoin. You can buy a portion of one. And so as it goes up, if it goes up 10, 15, 20%, that's what you make. So if you have $10, you make $1.50. If you have $100, you make, $15. And so a lot of times you can make some quick, easy money or some gas money like that.
There you go. Okay, Tim, so let's get into our fair talk real quick. You have fair talk and Halloween plans. Now, you mentioned you went to the Texas State Fair today, and you sent me some pictures.
I did go to the Texas State Fair. I thought this might just interest some people who've, we always say everything's bigger in Texas. A lot of our listeners don't live in Texas. Texas is the world's largest state fair, and, so you can go ahead and show the pictures if you want. Here's a couple that I took. The first one on the left is famous. I don't know if you can't really tell how tall that is.
If you look at the trees, I think you get an idea.
That's an idea. It's Big Tex, who a lot of people might remember made the news for a couple years ago because he caught on fire.
Yep.
And that is the newest Big Tex, and he talks a lot more and is a little more animated, but still very much Big Tex. It's also the home of the Cotton Bowl. A lot of you guys watch football. Maybe you watch the OU versus Texas game. It's in the Cotton Bowl. That is part of inside the state fair, although you can't tour it. And then just a idea of everything bigger in Texas. Look at the size of our Ferris wheel up there, Jonathan. That was quite big.
You can see all of Dallas from there.
So a couple other things I was going to go through was some of the things I found to eat.
Oh, here you go. I've got them right here.
You got them? Okay. Well, that's just some of the entertainment and stuff. Again, everything's bigger in the Texas. And the second one, that is an anvil that weighs 35,000 pounds. Is at the Chevrolet deal, Jonathan. They have a track around there, and for free, you could drive any new Chevrolet, including a Corvette.
Wow.
And people, I mean, they were squealing. You could hear it taking off. They also had a big hill with like logs on it, and they would let you drive a new truck over that.
Wow.
And so that was kind of neat. You'll see Big Tech Choice Award winners: fried jambalaya, fried peanut butter and jelly, fried cookie dough, chicken fried lobster tail. If you didn't notice, in Texas, we fry everything.
We do.
Chicken fried bacon. I saw bacon cooked probably about 400 ways.
Because who doesn't like bacon?
Right. Well, my friend Mike that went with me did not like bacon.
Mike does not like bacon.
And I was like, I almost...
Mike could have come tonight. He could have come like with you here.
It really almost ended the friendship, but I'm going to let him pass. Spaghetti and meatballs fried. I saw fried pizza. Just you name it, they stick it and they fry it. Is that all the slides?
No, I got one more.
Okay. Oh, and then there's all kinds of booths, and one thing you look for is buildings inside that are air conditioned. And when I went there,
because it's hot.
Yes, I turned around, and what do you guys think about these games? I have no idea who they are, and another thing, they had a big sign up there. They would not let you play them. And I was like, well, what's the point of who would buy one?
Who would buy one without playing
it? They were running some kind of front end. You can kind of see that in that middle picture. I should have got some closer up.
That looks like Pandora's box to me.
It was so many people around there. It doesn't look like it at the time. I just had to snap a picture. It was right in the corner, and it was kind of hard to get in there. And this lady was trying to sell one, so I was trying to be respectful of that. They let you pay 10% down. You can see that.
And 15% off, I guess.
15% off. But I thought that was interesting. The one on the left that actually was shaped like a Pac-Man.
Yeah, that's a custom cabinet, it looks like, Tim. And I think I've seen these at the Dallas auctions. I don't know who does them, but I mean, they look like nice cabinets, but I think they are using, like I said, Pandora's box boards and Game Elf boards and stuff like that.
Well, they did have a booth there. So that was interesting. Is there any more slides, Sean?
I think that's it. I think that's all the pictures.
The last thing that I took a picture of, I think probably late in the day, was also a new thing, of course, here in Texas is craft beers. Everybody has...
Oh, I didn't put that one up there.
Everybody has different kinds of beers. There was cotton candy beer. There was all kinds of beer that you could buy. But one of them that struck me, I thought was just kind of strange, was Oreo cookie beer. And I did not try any of it, but it didn't even sound tempting to me, but... I ate cowboy nachos, and I had to have a funnel cake. But, now you can't just have a funnel cake. This funnel cake had ice cream on it, and whipped cream, and strawberries. So you got to have the above funnel cake. And they have always old-fashioned root beer. I enjoy drinking that, and so I had root beer today. So anyway, a good time at the Texas State Fair if you've never got a chance to go. Or maybe you have a fair. It's really huge. I forgot how big and how long. I also sent you some pictures of some cars that I thought you would like.
I didn't put those on there.
I thought, but I sent those specifically for you. Also, did you notice the Maxima?
Yes.
I was like, that is a crazy looking car, and it looks really fancy. And, of course, the red Jaguar. I don't know if I sent you that one.
You didn't send me that.
I sent that to my wife and told her I was bringing it home. She said it was perfectly fine as long as she could drive it. And so saw some cool cars and things like that. I always enjoy going to the fair, but I hadn't been in a long time.
Let's see here. Michael says, I love how the Cotton Bowl isn't played in the Cotton Bowl. That is true. I think it's played at AT&T Stadium now.
Yeah.
But the Texas OU game is still played at the Cotton Bowl.
Right. So the Texas OU game will be there.
That's right. YouTube Punk says, Dragon Slayer beer reviewed in Gak Attack's channel. Oh, Jonathan left out half the picks. I didn't put the car picks in there because Tim, when he sent me the car picks, he said, for Jonathan, for you. Yeah. So I didn't put the car picks in there. But he did. I'm a big Nissan fan, so he sent me the Maxima, the 370Z.
Yeah,
was the other one. I love the 370Z. I think when I have my midlife crisis, Tim, that's the car I'm going to get. So if I ever have one. I'm too cheap for a midlife crisis. Does that make sense?
The Jaguar was really crazy. I've never seen a Jaguar before that looked like that. I was like, wow, that's kind of neat. That is a Jaguar.
My goodness. Yes, it is.
I don't know if you guys can see this.
A little bit. I was about to say, you have to hold it up there. Maybe it'll focus in on it, but a little bit.
Yeah, cool. That's a Jaguar. And I would not have thought that by that car.
Let's see. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so with Fair Talk out of the way, Tim, obviously you guys were at the East Texas State Fair too here where we are, and you guys sold pizza out of there, and that went well, like we heard, so that's good. Not as big as the Texas State Fair, but still.
No, but Brett Michaels did play and perform.
Brett Michaels did play. Did you get to see him?
I did not. I didn't. I was working at the store at that night. For most people, are a little disappointed that had no idea. Like, haven't listened to him in a while. Everybody was expecting Poison.
Sure.
And he definitely plays what sounds like a modern country version. Some of his songs are pretty good. I like it, but I think a lot of people were disappointed. Like, you know, and he didn't sound. They were expecting him to sound like Poison, and he didn't. But overall, it was fair times are difficult here in Texas just because it was 100 degrees today.
Exactly.
So we kind of ate, did what we wanted to do, and left. We didn't stay for a long time because it was so hot.
Okay, Halloween plans, Tim? Anything you're doing? I mean, we're going to have, like, our little trunk or treat that we usually go to and stuff like that, but I don't know if we're doing
taking the
anything
food truck to a couple of places that are having some trunk or treat type deals. One is a pretty big one on Wednesday, so we hope to make some money off that one. In the pizza industry, night's a dead, slow night. Nobody wants to go out and eat because you go out trick-or-treating. But a lot of times we are going to try to capitalize and do more to-go business because you don't have to cook that night.
Now, here's a little tip. One of the trucks that I like to frequent around here, they've been setting up at haunted houses.
Oh, nice.
So that may be a trick for you.
Yes, maybe.
Or a treat for you, depending.
Right.
So, but you may get in touch with some haunted houses and say, hey, can we come by your place and sell some pizza? You know, or whatever the case may be. Because think about how many kids go to a haunted house like the week of Halloween, and they've been out there recently. It's a taco truck. I'm a big taco fan, so it's a taco truck. But selling pizza, I think, would go over really well too, especially 2 slices and a drink for $5 like you guys do.
Right.
So.
I'm trying to look and show you something that I have not showed you what we made
Seahorses
for
that
Halloween.
night says, "I hope a jaguar eats Billy Mitchell." So there you go. That's a great quote. Joe Holt says, "Best show on the net. I try never to miss it."
Oh,
thank you, Joe. We're glad we're the best show on the net. So, I don't believe that, but I thank you for the compliment anyway. So,
Joe needs to get out more.
We're like in the YouTube rankings, we're probably like 1,053,506 or something like that. But hey, we've got a ranking, right?
We're going for 505 this week.
There you go.
1,505,005.
There you go, 505.
We're gonna knock that 50675 guy out.
Oh, there you go. Seahorses at night. I'm going to dress up like Billy Mitchell and steal kids' candies. Apparently, our whipping boy tonight is Billy Mitchell too. So anyway, let us talk about some sports. Now, I noticed here Michael put something up here about the Gamecocks, and I want to make sure I got that. My Gamecocks are garbage. Well, Will Muschamp is useless, but it cost $22 million to fire him, so we're stuck. Our AD, Ray Tanner, was one of the best baseball coaches in history, but he's an awful athletic director. Here's the thing about Will Muschamp, Tim. Texas roots, right? Used to be a Texas assistant coach under Mac Brown. I was a big Will Muschamp fan. I was sad to see him go, but he has not had the success as a Gamecock that he did as a Longhorn. I will say that.
Speaking of which, you know who my favorite team is?
Who?
Who's
Oklahoma.
my favorite team?
Oklahoma.
I have a new second favorite.
I don't know. Who's your new second favorite?
North Carolina. You know why?
Why?
Mac Brown.
That's true. Mac Brown.
Have you seen them play? They took Clemson to the last play of the game. The number one team. Guys, if you get like Sling or you got this DVR or something, go back and watch the end of that game. They literally scored a touchdown with a minute left, and they could have kicked the field goal and tied it. And Mac Brown goes, if we're gonna play, we're playing to win. So he goes for 2, and then he gets stopped. So they took the number one team in the country to the last second on the last play. I just like Mac Brown.
I like Mac Brown. Look, I'm a Texas homer, Tim. I love UT, and I'm a big Mac Brown fan.
Well, I'm an Oklahoma fan. I'm a big Mac Brown fan. But you also know that Mac Brown was an offensive coordinator at Oklahoma before he went to Texas.
Correct.
During the Brian Bosworth years, you might remember those. Mm-hmm. He was offensive coordinator at one time. So he come up under Barry Switzer.
Right.
And Mac Brown is just a great guy. And I've never seen anybody coach with such passion. I would love for my kid to play for Mac Brown. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I love to watch him in the locker room.
And he's a great recruiter. He's good at the house. That's what they've always said about him. So when he goes to Gets House to recruit him, Mike's good about talking him into wherever he's at.
So I think the record is like 2-2. But let me tell you something. They're a much better team than their record. They've lost a couple. They lost to the number one team in the country. They actually knocked the number one team out of the number one slot because they gave them such a hard time. Anyway, so that's my second favorite team. I've really enjoyed watching North Carolina play under him.
Now, speaking of Oklahoma, Tim, I've heard a lot of interviews with Bob Stoops about the XFL. And I tell you what, I did not realize how... I mean, I've heard Bob Stoops interviewed and speak before, but it's amazing how good he is at phrasing the stuff. Because, especially with the XFL, there's a lot of unknown. And I don't know if you've seen any of the videos with him about the XFL. The way he explains it is beautiful. He's like, the things we're trying to do with the XFL, because people are always like, is it going to be crazy again? Is it going to have all these crazy rules? And are people going to be able to put, names on the backs of jerseys and stuff? He's like, no, it's going to be regular football. But the things we're looking at doing, simplifying and speeding up the game. Those are the things we want to do. We want to make sure that if you think it's a catch, it's a catch. If you think it's pass interference, it's pass interference.
All right.
Those kind of things. Because how many times have we watched an NFL game, ref calls pass interference, and you're like, he barely touched the guy.
Right.
Or guy catches the ball, and guess what? Wasn't a catch.
Right.
Stuff like that. And so, he's like, that's the kind of stuff we're trying to fix, and we're trying to speed it up. We're trying to have less penalties, and keep the game faster. And I thought that's very interesting. The way he phrased it, I thought was very well. And so, I always knew Bob Stoops was a smart guy, but he's very well-spoken, very articulate, and very good at illustrating points that he wants to make. And if you've seen any of the interviews with him about the XFL team, they show.
All right.
So, he could still be coaching college. He could have coached at Oklahoma forever, I feel like.
I think so. And but here's the big question is now, Oklahoma's had the last two quarterbacks Heisman Trophy winners.
Yes.
And maybe the front runner this year. So if they get 3 Heisman Trophy winners in a row, then how marketable is Lincoln Riley to the NFL?
Exactly.
Because a lot of Heisman Trophy winners are bust.
Yes.
But these two guys are doing pretty good.
They're okay.
They're not great.
No.
I mean, they're not Tom Brady yet, but they're starters.
Yes.
And they're contributing. They're main players, team leaders. So, and I do think that Jalen Hurts is an awesome quarterback. So that'll be interesting. But
Michael said, he just retracted it, so I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
But the XFL at the end of the year, at their initial year, they had the $1 million game. And that was the thing, the team that won got $1 million.
Wow.
They split among all the players, which is a lot of money,
Right,
for those players who aren't playing NFL. But no, I think, like you said, with the Heisman Trophy stuff, I think it's very interesting. And like you said, I mean, it's obvious that Oklahoma's done a good job in the recruiting of quarterbacks.
well,
but unfortunately,
you got to have an offensive line that gives them time.
Exactly.
And when you lose 4 out of 5 guys to the NFL last year, and then you come right back and you're still blocking, you're still keeping that. That's where the coaching is. It's not that you're smart enough to get Jalen Hurts sitting on the bench at Alabama.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's that keeping that, any good team is the offensive line, which the Cowboys should be way better sometimes than they are. But
speaking of Cowboys, we're 3-1. The New Orleans game was a heartbreaker, Tim.
That was a tough loss.
But you know what? It was very reminiscent of the game against them last year, except they just controlled the clock better this time than we did. Last year, we controlled the clock better than they did. This year, they controlled the clock more than we did.
So, here's the deal. If you can't beat the Saints with a backup quarterback and they not score an offensive touchdown, how in the world can you beat them when Drew Brees is healthy?
Well, here's the deal. We talk about Drew Brees a lot, but you know what makes that offense run? Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that guy is the offense. I mean, you can talk about Brees and how he can throw, but the reason why Brees can throw is because Alvin's up there doing whatever he needs to do. He's catching passes. He's doing those things. He's blocking if he needs to. He's running if he needs to. He's doing everything he needs to do. And when you have a guy like that who can do anything on the offense, basically, it doesn't matter. Quarterback matters to a certain extent. Don't get me wrong, Saints have a great defense too, which is part of the reason why they were able to stop us. But when you have a guy like that that's so versatile offensively, I mean, it just makes a world of difference.
It does.
And it doesn't. I mean, your quarterback makes a difference. Not having Drew Brees hurts them, but not as much as you think because of Kamara.
But that's what we're supposed to have with Ezekiel Elliott, and he was non-existent in that game.
So I think the biggest thing though was that the game plan changed. We were running more, and I think that was because Amari Cooper was injured, and they didn't want to come out and say it. Because Amari Cooper is a guy who runs perfect routes and almost always gets open. But did you watch the game? He hardly was ever open. He was getting covered. And I don't think it was because whoever was covering him was that great of a... I mean, he's a good cover. Don't get me wrong. He's covering him well.
He wasn't trouble and triple covered.
Right, exactly. I think it was because he was injured and he was having problems getting that distance, that break from the defender because he's hurt. And so when that happened, it was like, okay, we got to move to plan B. Okay, because now we can't get anybody open. We have to start running the ball more. And so they just automatically started running the ball more, and we just weren't able to penetrate.
It's like you knew what was going to happen.
Exactly. So anyway.
So any big surprises to start off the season? I mean, Patriots obviously look like who's going to play them in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, Chiefs are good.
Chiefs are good.
You
Patrick
know,
Mahomes is better
than
last year.
But anybody that's just a surprise? I'm trying to think of some of the league players. I think the Packers are better than I thought.
Colin Kaepernick is the best quarterback. $100 million without even stepping on the field. Hey, man, that's smart.
Yeah.
But anyway, recommend traditional. Let's see. Traditional medicines, throat, coat, tea, and honey for Tim.
Okay.
So there you go.
I need something.
But, no, I mean, I don't think there's any real surprises. I think most of the teams are what I thought they were. I mean, everybody's playing about where I thought they would be. Is there any team that you think is way better or has a better record than you think they should have? I mean...
the 49ers.
Yeah, 49ers.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
I was surprised there.
I
also thought Pittsburgh would be better than they are.
Yeah, but they lost Roethlisberger, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that hurt them bad. And the rookie guy that's filling in, I can't remember, or, whoever his second string is okay. But he's not Roethlisberger, unfortunately.
Right. But then you got Carolina loses Cam Newton. The other guy comes in and is tearing them up.
Yep.
Is doing great. So then it starts to wonder, it's like when Drew Bledsoe got hurt, Tom Brady came in. Then you start thinking, man, you like want the backup to do good, but not too good.
Exactly.
So,
well, hey,
interesting.
Romo Dak.
Yeah,
Romo Dak.
There you go.
Just saying. Okay, Bears are looking pretty good. Well, at least their defense is their defense is brutal, man. Golly, it's good. I watched the game. Forget which game I watched of theirs. I think it was Monday night. But it was the Packers game. Packers-Bears. Was that opening night?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but the Packers' offense is not as good as I thought it would be.
What about you? Yeah, my fantasy quarterback was Lamar Jackson, and we auto-draft. So I was like, now he's been doing great. He's like 30 points a game.
I've got Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Atlanta has been pretty decent this year. So, I mean, he's doing well for me. And I've got Kamara.
Okay.
So, I mean, that helps a lot. So, I mean, those are my two big guys.
I'm 2-2.
But anyway, so I'm undefeated.
Oh, wow.
But I'm playing my brother this week, so we'll see what happens. He's pretty tough. But anyway. Sports talk. Let's talk a little bit, Tim. So I don't know if you saw what happened last Sunday, but that was the last game at Globe Life Park.
I did see that.
So Globe Life Park is where the Texas Rangers play, and next season they're going to be moving to Globe Life Field, which is a dome that has a retractable roof. And so this was the last game played at Globe Life Park. Globe Life Park has been there since 1994. I went to games at Old Arlington Stadium, and the vast majority of my games have been at Globe Life Park.
Okay.
But, Tim, everybody was talking about what was the greatest moment in Globe Life Park history, and pretty much everybody comes down to Game 6 of the ALCS in 2010, which we were at.
We were there.
So there's a video of us way. You
need to post that video and let people watch it.
I did. It's in the show description down below.
You guys need to watch it.
So
I was thinking about that the other day.
It's a shaky cam video of us at the very, very top behind home plate, very, very top of the third level. Yeah, very, very top of the third level. But shooting it from there.
Game 6.
Game 6, 2010.
Rangers
ALCS.
had never been to the World Series.
Never been to the World Series.
And that was they
were
down to one out.
Yeah, Neftali Felice strikes out A-Rod.
A-Rod, yeah.
And that was it. So everybody pretty much said that was the greatest moment in Globe Life Park history. I agree. I was there. It was great. I hugged more random strangers than I'd ever hugged before. Literally random strangers all over the place. I gave high fives to people, Tim, It was so cool because I had no idea who they were.
We were up there, and if you will watch the video, you will hear the place just explode. And the video goes on for a couple minutes. It was like that for like 15 or 20 minutes. Oh, yeah. It just kept going. And as we came out, people were just high-fiving. It was like, I don't know, it's almost like we played in the game. People were like, exactly. It was so crazy. I've never experienced anything. What was funny was our friend Rod was there.
Yeah.
Had never been to a baseball game in his life, and we're
Not
like,
a professional one.
yeah, we're like, you can never go to another one now.
Yeah, exactly. You went to the best one ever.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Texas Rangers.
Yeah. Well, if it just guys watch the video, you'll see what we mean. That talk about a place coming alive. That was crazy.
It was.
I'll never forget that moment.
Nah, me neither. So, like I said, I mean, we were hugging random strangers and high-fiving all sorts of crazy people and loving every minute of it. I mean, it was great.
Literally, we are this close to each other in that video, and we are yelling and talking to each other, and you can't hear anything we're saying.
Yeah, Tim's on the video. I'm holding the camera, but I get you for a sec.
Yeah.
I get my friend Brandon for a sec. I get Rod for a sec. I think everybody gets in there, but it was fun. So, big send off to Globe Life Park. It was a great ball field, but I'm looking forward to retractable roofs because it's hot here, people.
Yes.
And so air conditioning and enjoying baseball and air conditioning sounds really good in August.
Yes.
So.
Or September.
MLB wildcard games happened, Tim. Did you watch either one of them?
I watched part of the one last night.
Okay, that was Oakland and Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay won that one. And then Washington beat Milwaukee the night before. And then right now, I think we have St. Louis, Atlanta. They may just be now finishing up, or they just finished up not that long ago. I don't know who won. And then we had the Dodgers and Washington is the game that's being played right now.
Okay.
So, again, Dodgers-Astros, Tim, it's hard not to go with, but I'd like to see any... I hope that
somebody called the Dodgers something, and it has stuck in my mind ever since they said that. They called them the Buffalo Bills.
They are the Buffalo Bills
of baseball.
That's like an apt comparison. When they said that,
I was just like, I never really thought about it. I'm like, wow, they haven't won since the '80s, and it was like, oh my gosh.
But they've won their division like the last 8 years. Yeah. Something ridiculous.
And it's like, oh.
So,
sad.
Yeah, so it's hard not to pull for the Dodgers.
I may almost root for them this year just for that reason. It's like they got the curse or something.
The Astros have won it, right?
Yeah, and and then the guy in Houston's going to have to give away all these mattresses if they win. You hear about this?
Oh yeah, but did you see what he did?
No.
He put a bet on the Astros to win, like $3 million.
Okay.
So if they win, I mean, he's going to make out there, and all that money's going to go to pay the mattresses.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Well,
see, it makes sense.
Pretty smart.
But anyway, Mattress Mac.
Yeah.
Mattress Mac.
Okay.
Have you ever been to Gallery Furniture, or do you know Gallery Furniture?
I have seen it, but I've
Gallery Furniture has a Facebook page. They post a Bible verse every day.
Okay.
Just letting you know. So that's the kind of guy Mattress Mac is, if you're into that. So, I mean, but he posts a Bible verse every day.
That's the kind of it reminded me of a Drew Brees joke a little bit ago. Have you heard about it?
Oh, no, I haven't.
That when they were way behind the other day and they said there's no way they can come back, and Drew Brees said, hold my Bible.
Very nice.
Anyway.
There you go. Anyway. Now, Tim, there's a big NBA and NHL starting. In fact, tonight is the very first Dallas Stars official game of the night.
Okay.
So if you guys... See, that's what I'm saying. There's hockey tonight. There's MLB Wild Card going on tonight.
It's a lot of
NFL
sports
going on because Rams and Chargers.
And somebody's here watching us.
Who's playing tonight?
It is Rams and somebody.
So...
I don't know. I don't get
YouTube Punk, that's the guy who helped all the hurricane victims, right? Yes, he opened up Gallery Furniture and let them in. Like anybody, they use Gallery Furniture as just a hurricane shelter.
Wow.
Yeah, he just let them in. So I mean, the guy is as kind and nice as can be. And he has done so much for the city of Houston, Tim. I don't think. I mean, he's the kind of guy he can call up the mayor anytime he wants, and the mayor takes his call. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, and because he's always helping out, always trying to do stuff. So I mean, Mattress Mac is the man.
All right.
I will say that. Okay, so hockey season's starting up, Tim. I'm kind of excited for the Stars after the playoff run we had last year. I know the St. Louis Blues. I don't know if Matt's here tonight, but I know the St. Louis Blues won last year. I feel like it's our time.
Yeah.
Just saying, Dallas Stars. But we'll see. Continuing on, Tim, I've got some cord uncutting talk.
Oh.
I've gone back to cable.
Gone back?
Gone back.
What's drawing you back?
Price.
Really?
Okay, so here's the deal. So,
I heard they had some new plans.
Yeah, so... our local cable company is ALCS, which is throughout the country. Okay, ALCS is the parent company of our cable network, but they also own Optimum, they own Sunlink, they own a whole bunch of cable systems.
Okay.
So ALCS has upgraded all their systems and everything, and so I was paying about $180 for like internet, cable, and like all the like all of the extended basic channels.
Right.
Okay, and that was too much. So I dropped just basically to internet and basic cable for like $100.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I call up because they always tell you like call in September.
Right.
Like whenever I talk to the sales reps, like why do I call in September? So I call in September and I'm like, hey, you guys got any deals going on? I was like, I'd really like to get my premium or like my extended channels back. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, I can have those back for $10.
Wow.
So I was paying $180. Now I'm paying $110
Wow. Okay.
for the exact same thing.
And did they have this deal where it's like, and that's your price for life?
Yes, price for life lock in
Price for
too.
life.
Price for life lock in too. So I said, YouTube TV, I love you. I love YouTube TV. It's a fantastic interface and everything. But for $10 more a month, I'm going back to cable. So I am back with cable. But let me tell you about a little trick. If you have cable, but you don't want to pay for an extra box, you need to look at Fitzy TV.
Fitzy. F-I-T-Z-Y.
F-I-T-Z-Y. Fitzy TV. So Fitzy TV allows you to log in with your cable password and username, and it will give you a guide of all of the streaming channels you have access to. So it's kind of like, it kind of becomes like Sling in a way. So you log in with your Altice account, okay, and then it brings up a guide with all of the streaming channels that are available for live streaming on the internet that you have access to, like they're part of your account. And it's a guide just like the guide you get off anything else.
Nice.
I'll show you it here after this. So if you got cable but you don't really want to pay for extra boxes, it works great on Fire TV and on Android devices and phones. So if you have that kind of stuff, but you just log in and you get the guide and everything. It's perfect. So
nice.
Fitzy TV, check it out if you've got cable. And then Tim, just something to be aware of: if you're an AT&T, customer,
I am.
then you can get 6 months of Spotify Premium for free.
Okay.
Right now, so AT&T Thanks, which some people may be familiar with, is their kind of customer loyalty program. If you go to AT&T Thanks, there's a thing for 6 months of Spotify Premium.
Nice.
So and there's a link down below. I put it in the show notes for you guys. I think we've talked about this, Tim. Spotify is a service I like better than any other service. It's fantastic. So if you want to try it out for 6 months free, go to the AT&T Thanks, sign up, and check it out. 6 months is a long time, Tim. So
right.
I mean that amount of time, you'll figure out whether you like it or
But we don't invest in Spotify.
no, too expensive.
Right.
But Spotify service is great. So there you go. Okay, Tim, I think we're getting ready to wrap it up, but let's do our TV and movie talk. So I'll let you go first. What movies and TV shows have you been watching?
Have you seen the show on Netflix called Unbelievable?
I have not, but when you sent this to me, I looked it up, and it's kind of a true crime, right?
Yeah, it's a true crime. I mean, I won't give anything away because this is what it's about. It's about a girl, and she is raped, and she's having trouble with dealing with it. And the police are, question her, and she's like, I really can't remember a lot. He tied me up, and, and it was at night, and I was asleep, and all this happened. And, they keep questioning her, and she changes her story up a couple times because she really can't remember all the details. She's like, well, I think it was this and that. And they're like, you're not really sure. And it kind of, then all of a sudden they start questioning if did this really happen to her. They can find zero evidence. Like at the crime scene, they can find no DNA. And this guy is meticulous about it to the point where later on they're thinking maybe it's a cop. Somebody that would know how to clean up a crime scene.
Sure.
But I won't give all that away. But thanks to the internet, there's a lot of ways to learn how to know. We now know that you can leave your DNA everywhere. So
sure.
he would throw away the sheets of pills. Anyway, she really was raped, but she ends up. The police keep coming down. Write that confession again. Tell us now. Last time you said this, and finally at the end, she's just like, I made it up. Just let me live my life. And so then they arrest her for making false stuff.
False accusations.
Well, they bring a charge against her. It's more like a fine.
Sure.
Okay. And anyway, that's what the story's about. And all of a sudden, this other detective begins to notice in different areas that the same, they find out, well, this guy left no DNA. Same thing happened to her. And they're like, well, maybe she was telling the truth. So they go back. And that's the story of it.
Interesting.
It's called Unbelievable. She's unbelievable. And it really makes you feel sorry for her, but in the end, it works out really good. So watch the end.
Good
it's
ending.
Very good. Good ending.
Before you move on, last time, Tim, we talked about a lot of old TV shows. So if you have an old TV show that you really enjoy, not only tell us what the old TV show is, tell us why you like it.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're in the live chat, that's what we're asking for. Do you have even a current TV show? Give us your TV shows and why you like them. Not just throw them out there like, this is a TV show I like. Tell us why you like them.
Okay.
So there you go. Anyway, continuing on.
Because we're always looking for a new show.
Exactly.
And now, I'd read something, and I think I'd asked you about it. And then, so I said, I need to check this out. It's on HGTV. If you have Sling or you have that they keep replaying a lot of the episodes. So if you've missed them, you can go back. They show them all day long.
Sure.
Same shows. And
because it's HGTV.
And it has ended now, so you can go and watch the whole thing. Basically, it's called A Very Brady Renovation. Now, you're familiar with this, right?
Yes, I have it on my DVR to watch. I already kind of knew about it. But for those who don't know...
it was way more interesting than I thought it would be.
Okay. So tell us what's about.
What it's about is, I guess about last year or the year before, everybody knows the show The Brady Bunch.
Yes.
Well, the house that you see, the famous picture of this house, and kind of had the old, this is the Brady house, was just a random house, maybe not totally random, but none of the show was shot in the house. It was all shot in the studio.
That's usually how it is.
Right. In fact, Maureen McCormick, who had never played Marcia, had never even been in that house. Most of them haven't. They never seen the inside of it. They just knew it was. So for years, it has been famous. When I was in California, I asked people what they're to do. They said, well, you could go everybody else takes pictures of the Brady house. The number 2 house photographed in the whole United States.
Wow.
What's number 1? The White House.
Yeah.
The second, the Brady house in that
crazy.
picture. People go there and take pictures. So what they'd actually done over the years, they built a fence to keep people from getting in, and they changed it up, and they tried to, it's not the Brady house, and stuff. Anyway, I think finally they just gave in to, it's the Brady house, take a picture and leave us alone. Well, it came up for sale, and it was listed for $1.8 million.
Because it's in California, right?
And it's in California near Hollywood.
Yeah,
well, even for it's a pretty good sized house for a Hollywood price, it really wasn't that bad a deal. But here's what they do. Here in Tyler, you say 1.8, hoping somebody will give you 1.4.
Sure.
Or that, 1.5. There you say 1.8 because that's where it'll start.
Right.
So they literally had bidding wars, and a lot of people knew it was the Brady house. And the actual person who thought they won was Lance Bass from NSYNC.
Yeah.
And so he was getting ready when all of a sudden there was a last-minute bid. HGTV buys the house for $3.5 million. And what they want to do is they shoot a show called, and they have all 6 Brady kids come back, and they actually remodel the house to actually look inside way it looks outside. And so it just will bring back a lot of memories. There's the den, of course. There's Greg's attic. There's Alice's room. There's the mom and dad room where they slept in the same bed and shocked everybody, and the kitchen was where the orange laminate come in. They actually found the company was still in business that made the original orange laminate from them, and they were like, we'll make some more.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so the details, another thing that they, crowdsourced it?
Yes.
They went online and said, look, maybe you're a fan of the show. Maybe you had a couch back then. Maybe you still have an old green refrigerator that's like this. And people were going crazy. People that were super fans, or they're like, oh, my grandma has a old lamp like that. They were getting stuff from all over the United States, Connecticut and Indiana and stuff. And they redo that to the T. And when they come in, every room, and so every episode is a couple different rooms. So you get to see a finished room every episode.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really cool. And then they also made it functioning. Like a lot of it was just fake stuff,
Exactly.
And you learn a lot of interesting facts. So if you like that show, or you grew up watching that show, but then they also did it kind of cheesy. Like if you remember the backyard where the kids played in was always artificial turf.
Yes.
Well, they put more artificial turf down. They made it just like the show, and so there's a lot of that stuff, and they tell a lot of stories about different episodes. I never knew that I was a fan of the show, but I never went back and watched episodes and listened. Like in the show, it tells their address.
Right.
It doesn't tell what city they live in. There's a lot of that stuff, and a lot of that plays into a big part of this show. And it's really neat because they let the people help them. And for instance, Bobby Brady does 3D printing and stuff, and so he helps them with a famous horse. There's a horse. Don't play ball in the house. So some of the stuff they had to recreate, how they did it, how they made the material, how they some of it they found on eBay and auction sites. Some of it people literally donated. Some guy says, I went to a Paramount, which was the original owner, auction one time. I think this was some fish that hang up in the kitchen. And it probably was. So they donated it and said, here, I want it to have part. Now, they haven't decided what they're going to do with it. I think that they'll probably open it up for tours.
Yeah, I think that'd be the thing to do.
They're going to do it because it's just too cool. And it's really a neat way, and even the Brady kids themselves. And then there was a lot of stuff they didn't want to do. They didn't change the outside at all.
Right.
So there was some real. There had no upstairs in that house. It looks like it.
Upstairs, right?
Yeah. In fact, if you know stuff, you'll learn when you watch the show. And I'm not going to ruin anything. But like you remember that famous scene of the house, everybody can picture it right now in their mind. That window that was up there on the left side was fake.
Right.
There was no window there. And so, how did they made a window? They did all the stuff that was so cool. And they even did the yard and everything. So watch that, a very Brady renovation. If those bring back memories and just listening to them and then some of their stories about what they're doing now and what's going on with them. And, the dad, mom, and Alice are all gone and or went on in the afterlife and stuff. So it's like some of the stuff they did to remember them and stuff. You could tell they were they weren't always, it's just a movie. And the show only ran 5 years.
Yeah.
It wasn't even popular. It didn't even break the top 30.
Right.
And but now it's one of the most beloved shows of all time. So watch a very Brady renovation on HGTV.
Okay. And then the other thing we have here is Happy Valley.
Happy Valley is a...
Need one more?
Happy Valley is a British film, and I like some of those British crime shows where a guy's boss will not give him a raise. And his dad and that boss kind of founded the company, thinks, out of all the cheapskates, I should own half this company, and he wants to send his kids to school. So he tells the guy, he says, you know what? You guys that guy is filthy rich. If you would kidnap his daughter, he would give you $500,000. Give me $100,000 of it, and I'll pay for my daughter's school. And don't hurt her, don't do anything. Just and that we all get some money out of it. He kind of halfway jokingly, but he really is mad at him. Well, it turns all south. Nothing goes right. People die, murdered. It just turns into a big mess. And so, that's what the show's about.
Gotcha. Interesting. I had not heard about that one. I kind of heard about the other two, but not Happy
It's a little hard to watch because they speak with such an accent and they talk very fast. But the more you listen to it, the more you get to know it and like it.
Gotcha. Okay, before I get to mine, I'm going to bring up some of the stuff here. Let's see. YouTube Punk. Binge The Boys after last month's episode. Really enjoyed it. So yeah, man, The Boys.
The Boys. I still haven't watched that.
Man, it's good. And
really
season 2 is going to be
it.
soon because they were filming it right when season 1 came out. So The Boys is so good. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you got to watch The Boys.
Looks
it may be
good.
one of the best things on Amazon Prime. And Knights of Old said the same thing. The Boys. Yes, awesome new take on superheroes. Loved it. The OA, captivating storytelling. Of course, I can't watch the OA, Tim, because they canceled it, right?
Yeah.
And people are really mad. I mean, so mad that they're canceling Netflix accounts and doing all these different protests and riots and all sorts of stuff about the OA. So I kind of don't want to get into a show that I know is going to end on a cliffhanger that will never be explained. I hate that.
Right.
So the OA is probably out of my thing, but I have heard good things about it. So.
I like the OA. The first season was pretty interesting.
There you go. Let's see. True Detective Season 1. A lot of people said True Detective Season 1 is really good, but I've heard that Season 2 and after, not so good. So, HBO.
Okay.
So, let's see. Could not stand the Brady Bunch when I was a kid. I was more of a Mr. Ed guy.
Okay.
So, on YouTube Punk. There you go. So, still watching the OA, though. Okay, so he's still watching the OA. He's still getting through it. Okay, Tim. So, last month you said you were watching The Middle.
Yeah.
And I had said I'd seen some random episodes, enjoyed it. So, me and my wife started watching it from the beginning. And we really like it. Yeah, The Middle is a very good show.
And what's funny is I've been watching now like 3 months. I watch it almost every night.
There's a lot of seasons.
I'm on like season 6.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can watch 2 or 3 episodes a night and still I'll be in season 6 the rest of the week.
Right.
It's crazy long, but it's good.
Yeah.
And what's cool about it, John, I'll tell you, stuff that happens in like way back seasons will come to light later. And so the more you watch it in session, it really helps.
Well, we're really enjoying it because it's very relatable for where we are at
Right.
that point in our lives. So,
Yep.
because it's about a family that has kids and how they're poor and they screw up all the time, and that sounds just like us. So I was like, it worked. And Tim, I did finally finish Mindhunter season 2, and it was good. And the end was, man, I didn't like the little blurb at the end, like saying, like, oh, I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a little blurb at the end, and you're kind of like, oh, man. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I felt. But it was good. It was entertaining. And, you know, that's kind of how the government works. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like once the credits, you know, once they've, you know, it's like, it doesn't matter if the job's finished or not. We're going to get out of town while the getting's good. Yep. And that's kind of what happens at the end of Mindhunter season 2. Is that pretty good without spoiling it?
That's really good.
So, and then I watched a movie, Tim. I watched Late Night on Amazon.
Okay.
Which is about, it's got, oh gosh, it has a very famous older actress in it. It also has the Indian girl from The Office, which I can't remember her name at the moment.
Okay.
But she's a late night host, and her ratings are in the tank.
I've heard of this.
And so they hire, you know, this girl from The Office. And she kind of gets her to be more daring, and it's free on Amazon Prime because it's an Amazon Studios, film. So you can watch it. It's very good. Highly recommend it. It's only like 2 hours, hour and a half, something like that. But if you just want a nice light watch, it was good.
Okay.
So that's all I've got. Let's see what else we have here. Marvelous Miss Maisel is fantastic. Next season comes out in December. Really like that show. Looking forward to season whichever it is, 3 or 4. I can't remember which one. Let's see. Mindhunter started strong, went downhill for me. I still liked Mindhunter. You know, I stopped like midway through season 2 though, and it took me a while to pick it back up. So I will say that. But I think that's it. Anything you're looking forward to seeing? The new Star Wars, maybe. Yeah,
the new Star Wars, of course. I don't know. I'm in this mode right now where I'm kind of. I've been watching some true life paranormal stuff.
Gotcha.
And you know, some of that's real hokey, and some of it's kind of interesting.
If you want to go back into a time warp, you can do. They have all of the Unsolved Mysteries on Amazon Prime, like every single episode. So if you want to go back and watch Unsolved Mysteries, you know, kind of there's a lot of that stuff.
So I guess as it gets towards Halloween, I don't like a lot of horror movies, but I like the true stuff, and that kind of interests me. I'm really thinking about releasing my YouTube video now.
Oh, YouTube video what?
Remember?
Oh, yeah. Now you're no longer at Chuck E. Cheese, right?
So, for those of you who are still listening, we'll get
all 5 of you.
Yeah, all 5 of you. We'll get your opinion. I had a paranormal experience, a true paranormal experience one day I was at Chuck E. Cheese and I was working, and I just got this feeling like something just cold chills down my back, and it's just creepy. And then it went away, and I was fine. But then when I thought to myself, that was weird, really weird. So I went and looked at the security gate I couldn't see because I'm typing at a computer, but I felt something. So then I looked, and I'm watching the video, and I'm videoing a video of the video, right?
And I think I have that. You sent it to me.
Yeah, I have it still.
You have it.
I've been saving it. And what you see is what looks like a ghost, if you will, or a
apparition.
Apparition, not a ball or nothing like that. You literally see it, and it just kind of goes down my back, comes down the floor, and goes under the door. And I'm not lying, y'all. It really looks, and I didn't fake it. I didn't do anything about it. Well, I thought it was so interesting. I was showing it to all my friends. But then I thought, before I post this on YouTube, I better ask for permission.
Right.
And when I first sent it off to the headquarters, and I said, can I post this? And they said, oh, it's just some lint on the camera thing. And I'm like, really? You think that you're trying to tell me that was lint? You can't tell me. And they're like, okay, we don't know what it is. I said, you're telling me it's lint? No, probably not. What do you think it is? And they were like, we don't know, but we'd prefer that you not post it.
Well, sure.
Because they want people to think Chuck E. Cheese was haunted.
Well, sure.
And so now I'm like, but I haven't worked there in over a year. In fact,
Do you ever want to work there again?
It's almost my 1-year anniversary. And I honestly don't like burning bridges because you never know. And I don't have anything good to say. I would go work for Chuck E. Cheese again in the right circumstances and the right amount of money. But I'm just saying, I really wouldn't want to burn a bridge, but maybe after a year, it's a time. I don't know.
We don't have to say where.
Yeah, I'll just say I was at work.
Yes.
And so I'm actually thinking
You don't
about.
even have to say where it was.
So what say you? Should the video be released? Should we let it out? Because they'll know where it's from.
Right.
But only the mad listeners of this show that watch this far.
Somebody says swamp gas. It was swamp gas.
I'll tell you what. You tell me. It's very mysterious. I'm just saying it's unexplained. I'm not saying it's a ghost. I'm not saying we used to have some weird stuff go on. Games that would play by themselves, not in the track mode. We had a horse that had no sense. If you played it, you had to sit on it because it had sensors.
Right.
And it wouldn't move. So to test it every day, I would actually have to get on it or put my arm on it or put some weight on it. We actually had a bag of flour we would put up there.
Like goes down, hits a switch, right?
And would hit the switch. And that game would just move and ride by itself. When we go to test it, it wouldn't move. But I've seen that game ride by itself.
People are saying as long as you don't say Chuck E. Cheese.
Maybe so. I think so. So maybe it's getting close to Halloween. So we might work on this. Tell us what we may. I think it could be a popular. It's very unexplained.
Well, I can bring you in here. You can do like a whole intro like that, and then we'll show the video, and then you do a little outro saying what do you think, and then we'll put it up on the page or something like that. I don't know. We'll talk about it. It'll be our first new video in like forever.
Right.
YouTube Punk says I've had 2 paranormal unexplained experiences. So there you go. It's not people have them.
It's just I think there's a lot of stuff we just can't explain. There may not be ghosts or spirits or it's just they're unexplainable. I think stuff happens all the time. We can't explain it.
Oh yeah. So we don't know everything. In fact, you used to give like the big basketball quarter analogy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's basically we know less than that about like the world that we live in, our bodies, and so much.
Right.
There's so much we just don't know. I mean, and people like to think. Like doctors and lawyers think they know everything.
Right.
But there's so much that we don't know.
Right.
I mean, there's
he's talking about I'd hold a basketball on a quarter and I'd say, this is what you know and all this is what could be known.
Exactly.
You think you know a lot and this is what it is. Your speck over here and here's the basketball. It's huge. There's a lot more to know. But anyway, then maybe it's just time around Halloween.
So let's see. I think one was, ball lighting. The other one was a UFO. I had a witness for the UFO. There you go. That's YouTube Punk. Like, why would people make meme cabinets? So, but there you
Spooky.
go. Yeah, exactly. Unexplained.
The unexplained.
I think we're gonna leave it there.
Yeah,
I'm
we
tired.
need to go.
Exactly.
I'm tired.
You need to go.
I gotta get in
we
bed.
both need to go. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. It was a great live show. It was kind of long tonight. Hopefully you bared with us in our terrible accent earlier.
And my coughing.
Here, I'm just gonna. There you go.
I switched sides.
That's right. So, here we go.
I'm 50-50.
Hey, you're 50-50. So, anyway, guys, thanks for joining us tonight, and hopefully we'll see you next month. Tim, let's see. We got November coming up. Man, you realize the next time we do a live show, it'll be after our Halloween?
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like it's a 5-weeker. Sorry, guys, 5 weeks. So, November 7th. November 7th will be the next live show. So, because Halloween will be the 31st, and it falls on a Thursday this year.
Right.
So, yeah. So, November 7th, we'll see you then. Hopefully, you have a great, wonderful month. Remember, you guys can email us at questions at Arcade Repair Tips if you have anything. And hopefully, Tim will get rid of his cough and do some little honey tea and some other things and get to feeling better. So, anyway, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks again for joining us for the live show. We appreciate you being here. We love it as always. You guys are the best audience in the world. And we hope to see you on November 7th for the next live show. Take care, everybody, and good night. We're out.